It's 7:20.
Yeah.
So they got some pizza.
I didn't want to.
Okay, John.
Huh?
Go ahead.
Good evening. I call to order for the City of Petoskey City Council for July 6, 2026. I ask that you rise with me for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I pledge allegiance to the
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which we stand, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Clerk Beck, would you please call roll?
Demore,
Present.
Wilmot,
Present.
Backtrop,
Present.
Walker,
Present.
Murphy.
Present, we have a quorum. Next, the consent agenda, and it's the June 1st, 2026 regular session, session, and the June 22nd, 2026 special session of City Council meeting minutes, as well as acknowledge the receipt of certain administrative transactions that have occurred since June 1st, 2026. Also, please acknowledge there's a receipt for May 2026 of the revenue and expenditures report to you. Do you have any comments, questions? If not, or thought, I entertain a motion. Mr. Wilmot.
I move to accept the consent agenda. Support.
I have a motion from Mr. Wilmot and a second from Mr. Knobtrop. Go to Ms. Beck for roll.
Wilmot,
Yes.
Backtrop,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Demore,
Aye.
Murphy.
All right, motion passes 5-0. This is your opportunity for public comment, and this is how it works. If there's something on the agenda that you would like to speak about, it would be best if you waited until that item came up on the agenda, as you can see in front of you. If there's something else, or if you can't wait and have to go to some other location or situation event, then you can speak on the event that is on the agenda. Otherwise, I entertain anybody that wishes to address this council to step forward, give us your full name. You don't have to give us any other information than your full name if you wish. And you'll have time to speak, but you are to speak to the council and not to the audience. Is there anybody who wishes to speak to council? Please.
Ann Strictly, 510 Harvey Street, and I do have another event to
Sorry, can you
attend.
hit
Oh,
the button on the microphone?
is that better?
Green?
Oh, on.
Great, there you go.
There you go. Thank you. Regarding the bicycle issue, I'm hopeful that this issue can end with a compromise for pedestrians and cyclists while maintaining safety for all. I'm a pedestrian and walk very often through town by way of Pennsylvania Park to the waterfront. I rode a bicycle for over 80 years and got off my bike when crossing intersections and when pedestrian traffic was heavy. As a pedestrian, I've dodged bicycles on a number of occasions to prevent getting hurt, but have never reported them. I would like to see cyclists walk their bikes through Pennsylvania Park for the safety of all. I don't feel that the sign posted last year on Mitchell Street at the entrance to the park was offensive. I don't think it's difficult to get off and on your bike, and I've not heard of anyone banning bicycles from the downtown business district. On several websites and publications, there are comments such as, Petoskey is an incredibly walkable and charming town, and it's a friendly, walkable community. We've strived to make Petoskey a walkable community, and I believe that we can find a compromise so that pedestrians and cyclists can stay safe. Thank you, and thank you for the council for your hard work.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Again, if you can speak on something that is not going to be on the agenda, we would appreciate that. And the rest of it can save for the agenda item. Anybody else wish to speak? Is there anybody online? There is none. Okay, like move off of public comment and I now move on to the city manager's update. Turn to City Manager Horn.
Thank you, Mayor. Wanted an opportunity to highlight staff as this is our first meeting of the month. So highlighting staff birthdays and work anniversaries for the month of July. We only had one staff birthday in the month and he is actually in the room with us. Jason Fate, our Public Works Director. I guess turned 62. I didn't realize you were at that point in your career, but no. Jason celebrated a birthday on July 3rd, so happy birthday, Jason. Work anniversaries for the month of July, Rob Eichler, our electric supervisor, 26 years with the city. Lisa Denoyer, planning and zoning, 22 years. Pat McGinnis, Electric Department, 14 years. Eric Crucell, Electric, 14 years. Nisa Kessler, Library, 5 years. Nick Hunter, Parks and Rec, 3 years. And Charlie Ramirez, Public Safety Officer, celebrates his first year with us in July. Just a moment to reflect and thank a number of people that really we've been preparing for the last weekend for seems like since April. Soon as the snow started melting, we gear up and try to polish our community and make it look as nice as it does for the influx of visitors that we see and did see over the weekend and obviously still see today in many ways. So a number of people, the Petoskey Fourth Committee, we tried something new this year, having a picnic on July 3rd in Pennsylvania Park. We weren't really sure how it would go. There's a lot of things happening on the 3rd of July around our area, and so we're competing with a number of things. But there was a nice turnout of folks that came down to kind of picnic, hang out together. We had folks that volunteered to do games. We had obviously live entertainment and just good food and a good way to just hang out and enjoy our wonderful park and our wonderful community. So certainly got great feedback on that. It was well received. This was kind of in celebration of our 250th. People were saying, well, I can't wait till next year. Well, this was supposed to be like a 1-year thing, but maybe we'll get enough feedback that it'll become a tradition for us. So we'll see how that goes. But then obviously the parade on Saturday. Again, thank you to all the volunteers that stepped up. You know, our Parks Department, our Street Department, we were working pretty much all weekend, preparing for this influx of folks and making sure that it was a good experience for all. We had a great group of volunteers that literally swept the streets after the parade, kind of like New York City after the ball drop. We were doing the same thing in Petoskey after the parade. So, and you couldn't really even tell that there were 15,000 people leaving behind any sort of trash after we got through there. So again, kudos to all of our volunteers, all of our staff that stepped forward. It was long days, long evenings, but we had a very good result, good opportunity to watch some fireworks, enjoy some entertainment down at the Bayfront. So good evening, good way to celebrate our community and each other. Keeping that theme, we have a number of things ongoing this summer. We're continuing our Bayside concert series on the promenade down near the resource room. Every Sunday evening from 5 to 7, we'll have entertainment on the promenade. So we encourage folks to take a look at our website, see who's coming up and participate. Grab a lawn chair, grab a blanket, and just relax from 5 to 7 on Sundays down at the promenade. Also, the Sounds of Summer. This is downtown Petoskey in combination with Bliss Fest and Nicolay Bank and Great Lakes Orthodontics. Provides live music downtown in Pennsylvania Park. The first one is July 17th on Friday nights from 7 to 8:30. So we encourage people to take advantage of that as well. Grab a lawn chair, grab a blanket, and just enjoy live music. Also movies in the park, in Pennsylvania Park as well. That's also on Friday evenings starting July 17th. So you can see, bring the kids down, grab some popcorn and snacks and just hang out under the stars watching movies. Our next big event that comes in front of us is Art in the Park. That's Saturday, July 18, brought to you by the Petoskey Chamber. So we have another full Saturday on the 18th where artists and exhibitors will be in Pennsylvania Park from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. in downtown. So that's something we encourage people to come out for. It's well attended event as well. Few construction updates. We are back at it on Howard Street, really kind of finishing that last stretch from Fulton to Jennings. Currently, we're on Fulton to Washington Street, where we've sanitary sewer has been completed through Fulton Street. Water main work will start next week, and then that'll be followed up by storm sewer replacement following the water main work. Then the section from Washington to Jennings will move forward. That work will start once utilities and the street is substantially complete. In the prior section from Fulton to Washington, we're anticipating this work to wrap up by early October. All residents in this area have been notified with going door to door, talking to them. And we've had good conversations with property owners. They're looking forward to getting this work done once and for all. It's been a long journey, but we're chugging forward. A few other updates. Skate park work is ongoing. We anticipate end of the month, first part of August, that project to start in earnest. So it's exciting to see how that park will be transformed, over the next month or so as we start that process. Dog park work is ongoing as well. We're still waiting for concrete work to commence at the dog park. Once the concrete work is done, we'll finish our gates, have the fence contractor come back, finish the gates. But right now, the thing we're waiting on is the concrete provider, getting them back in town and getting this work complete so we can complete our fencing. All the other amenities, benches, fountains are ready to go. So we're just waiting on concrete work. The Carnegie Building window rehab started back up today, or yesterday, I mean, July 6th today. Our contractor is back in town, bringing back all the windows that have been rehabbed. So this work will take place over the next 2 weeks, where we'll put those historic windows back together. So it'll be exciting to see those the building come back to life. It's been boarded up for a little bit. So we'll see how that building comes back to life here very, very quickly. Also wanted to just pass on to council as a reminder, George Kortauer, former city manager who was here for 25 years as city manager. Really, you can't really go many places in the city without seeing George's fingerprints on this community. His celebration of life is Monday, July 13th from 2 to 4. That's in the Festival Place shelter. So we encourage folks to come out and pay respects to George and all the great work that he's done in this community over the course of his career. Happy to take any questions at this time.
What's the cement? What is the idea? What date do you think the cement will be done for the dog park? So we can move on. I have had 5 calls in the last 3 days wanting to know about the dog park. And I guess I need something to tell the people other than say, when the cement guy gets here. I mean, do you have any idea of when he will be here? I mean, have we contracted with him at a certain time or date, or are we at his whim? And
We've had him at our disposal for all of the Howard Street project. They've had to break off and go address other clients' needs, so they're not in town right now. So it's a matter of them getting back in town, and they're aware of it. They've walked it. They know what they need to do. It's just a timeline thing. I don't have a specific date to provide you at this point.
July, August?
Yeah, the hope is that we can get this work done in July, yes.
Okay. Council, any other questions, comments? Moving right along. I would like to ask council to look at the agenda. I'd now ask you to add onto that agenda, city attorney report. And I'd ask for somebody to make a motion to add that to the agenda right now. Now that we're through with the boilerplate piece of Petoskey's business. I asked that somebody would make a motion to allow us to add city attorney report to the agenda
What part of the agenda, Mayor?
right now, prior to old business.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we add the city attorney's report following item 6 on the agenda, city manager's report, and prior to old business.
Do I have a second?
Support, but I note it would probably be item 7. After the
Yes.
city manager report. Yeah.
Yes.
Ms. Beck, would you call roll?
Wilmot,
Mr. Knobtrop.
I didn't know if you had any, since we got the motion, if there was any questions. Does this replace the closed session or is this?
No, it does
in
not.
addition to
This is
totally different subject?
Different subject.
Different subject.
Wilmot,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
Knocktop,
Aye.
Walker.
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye. Now I'm going to go to that item and our city attorney would like to address council at this point regarding a matter that's legal matter that's public.
Oh,
It's on now. I just hit it. Is it green? Oh. Sorry. Wonder why it's not green. It's not green?
Right, oh, this one's green, wonderful. All right, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here in person. I wanted to provide a brief update on the Lowe lawsuit, which is the one, the case involving the Little Travers Wheelway, scheduling wise, and this is intentionally a public update. As you know, there were discussions about settlement, but the case has not settled, so it's been proceeding in the ordinary course with discovery. We do have a July 29th deadline for court-ordered alternative dispute resolution or mediation. We had not been able to get in with our mediator, so opposing counsel and I have been working on trying to extend that. However, we learned today at about 4:30 or 4:45 p.m. that the mediator had a cancellation next week and can get our case in on July 14th. Now, to be clear, we are required to participate in mediation. That doesn't mean we're required to settle, and any settlement would have to come back to the full city council. But Judge Beckering does require us to participate in mediation with mediator Lee Silver. That is going to be conducted by Zoom on Tuesday, July 14th, beginning at 10:30 a.m. City Manager Horn will attend, I will be handling, and we would like, if possible, at least one member, but not 3, because we cannot have a quorum, one member of council to attend if possible. And so I wanted to find out if there was a member of council who might be available by Zoom that day to attend.
I would be available, but is there anyone else wish to
I
be
can be
available?
available.
I can be available as well. It's up to whoever. It's all fine.
We have to fight amongst yourselves because I can't have 3 on.
We can do 2.
And take 2.
To you both.
If it's business matters,
And as I said, if there is a settlement, it will of course come back to full council.
Joe and the mayor, you can go ahead. I'll stand down.
Okay. All right, we'll make sure we get the Zoom link to both of you gentlemen. And I think we'll have the Parks Director likely attend as well if possible. So that's the update that I had. Thank you for that, and I'll let you carry on.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is old business. It's adoption of a proposed resolution granting DTE a permanent and temporary utility easement on city-owned property on Kraus Road.
Come on up, Chris.
Turn it over.
Yeah.
Hello, Chris.
Hello, thank you. My name is Chris Hackbarth. I'm DTE's Regional Manager for Northern Michigan. I handle all of DTE's community and local government relationships across our northern natural gas territory. I am based out of Traverse City, but cover Benzie to Iosco and all points north, including our Upper Peninsula territory. Appreciate the opportunity to come before you today. I know there was some conversation at last month's meeting. Some questions came up. DTE is working on a large project for this region that will promote additional safety and reliability with regard to our transmission network into the 19,000 customers in this area. That involves the installation of essentially a looping of our system over to purchase additional natural gas in a loop. Right now, this area is served with a one-way feed. And as we work with our regulators at the state level, we work on ensuring that we have as many loops as possible and as few one-way feeds to avoid safety and reliability concerns. Also improves the opportunity for additional expansion supply support. So I know based on that conversation last month, DTE as part of this process, almost 14 miles of pipeline that we need to install for this loop. One of the parcels is a city-owned parcel in Bear Creek Township. And I know there were a number of questions that came up. I brought Tyler Remington with me. He's our senior land agent. I know one of the topics that was discussed at last month's meeting was, how is compensation derived as we look at these easements? I believe we have close to 100 easements we're working on in this project. Tyler's got thousands of easements he's working on with projects around the state right now. So I would like to invite Tyler up and kind of walk through a little bit with all of you, just so you understand the process that he utilizes as he works with his contractors in developing the easement process and the valuation of easements.
Thank you. Yes, I'm Tyler Remington, Senior Land Representative for DTE Gas. I think one of the biggest questions I saw get raised was how do we come up with a valuation for the easements or compensation offered? Typically what we do whenever we first start, because I'm not an appraiser by any means. So we pull the tax card for the property, look at the assessed value and try to kind of start our basis of negotiation there. Of course, properties such as the city of Petoskey doesn't have a tax card. So we look at the area, we look at the amount of impact, and then we try to be as fair as possible, to each and every landowner. For instance, I have one landowner that, he wants payment of $5,000 for 10 feet of pipeline that's gonna be on his property. I can't agree to that because whenever you do the numbers, that's $500,000 an acre. Everyone else on this project, we've stuck around $3,000 to $5,000 an acre plus damages, if there's trees that have to come out or, if it's going right next to someone's house, then we understand that's gonna have more of an impact than going across like farmland or, things of that nature. So we really try to take a look at the impact to the landowner as well as kind of their assessed value for the tax card, of their property. And that's where we start that basis at. Were there any other questions on that or any questions at all? Yes.
So I'm interested to know for this category of property, what's the range of per acre that you've offered in other locations for a substantially similar subject property?
We try to stick around $3,000 to $5,000 an acre is kind of the average that we have been sticking with for everyone.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Will this look similar? How wide of a girth will this have that will be treeless going through the whole section, or will the trees be allowed to grow over the top of it?
So I know, again, as we kind of look at the questions that came up last month, there was a lot of conversation around the easement itself, the width of the easement, and then the temporary workspace that would be required. Do want to, set everyone's mind at ease. The laydown yard that was discussed, that is a completely separate parcel. We have a separate lease on a parcel over in Resort Township. That'll be near where our existing gate station is off Resort Pike Road. Our pipe for, we'll have a trailer, the office trailer there. That'll be set up for about 1.5 years as this project was done, because this is a project that'll take a little over 1 year to complete. So that laydown yard is a completely separate area. When we talk about temporary workspace, that's the area where as we work in that 50-foot wide total, 25-foot on center from pipe.
Yes, 50 foot for permanent and 25 foot for temporary.
So we'll have 50-foot from center during the construction phase.
Correct.
Okay.
Total removal of all trees, everything.
So, yeah, the 75 feet in width is what we have to clear for the trees. You know, a swath going down through there. After construction's complete, then it just goes down to 50 foot permanent easement. So trees, buildings, houses, anything can be put in that additional 25 foot. We just need that during construction so we can string pipe, weld it in a safe manner, things of that nature. But then we ask for the 50 foot permanent easement because in the future, if we have to maintain that line, we like to have 25 feet on one side for, you know, a place to spoil dirt, and then 25 feet on the other side for our equipment.
Mr. Moore.
So just so I'm understanding this correctly, then the laydown yard is something separate from the temporary workspace.
Correct.
Okay, relative to the temporary workspace, what's the duration of time that that's needed?
Yeah, it'd be during that year and a half during construction. Now, not the entire year and a half, because we're not going to be on city Petoskey property for the entire year and a half. So once the line's in the ground, it's backfilled and everything's reseeded, then that 25 foot would go away.
So,
We'll be, just so I can clarify, we'll start this project from both ends and work back towards the middle. So there'll be a period of time, you know, maybe a 2 to 3 week period where they're on this specific parcel, be my expectation. And so you'll see that temporary workspace utilized only when we're in the construction phase on this parcel. And then again, that'll be filled back in, reseeded, and restored.
so for my part, when I look at this agreement under additional workspace, which I'm assuming includes the temporary workspace, I don't see any time constraints in there whatsoever. So that's a concern for me.
For the temporary workspace portion?
It says additional workspace. Are we assuming that that means temporary workspace in this agreement? I
Yes.
think it does. It just says it's going to be used temporarily, but there's no limits on the time that that will be used. So that's a concern I would just express.
Yeah, and I'm typically kind of skittish about putting an exact like drop dead dates on stuff like that because with construction projects, especially this size, I mean, anything can go wrong and delay it. You know, getting easements or having to go through different processes or, you know, anything. So I mean, if I was to put on there that, you know, that would terminate as of July 31st of 2027, then there's no way that we'd end up being in and out of there by then. And then I'd have to come back and ask for more temporary workspace. So
So I only speak for one council member, but I'm a little skittish about there not being anything in there that gives some construct. So I'm just.
well, I'd be more than happy to add language into the easement that states that I could add in like the additional temporary workspace would terminate at the end of the construction, the initial construction of this project.
Yeah, and again, I defer to my colleagues as well, and of course to our legal counsel, but I just wanted to raise that. I have some other questions. Should I
Sure.
go?
Continue on.
Okay, when I look at ground elevation in the agreement as well, it says grantee shall initially bury said pipeline or pipelines at a minimum depth of 36 inches. Does that mean that somewhere during the duration of this, you might bury things lower or higher, or what's the meaning of the word initially?
So it would have to be a minimum 36 inches for installation. Now during, you know, due to erosion and things of that nature, 20 years down the road, that pipeline's not gonna be 36 inches deep. Especially like out in farm fields, you know, where they're constantly working the ground and everything else. So that's something we always try to keep an eye on because the last thing we want is someone to be farming land and all of a sudden they hit the pipe with their equipment. So, you know, that's another kind of one of the things that we test for and keep an eye on. But that's the reason why it says initially it'd be 36 inches. We can't guarantee that, you know, I mean, some of our pipelines, we are 70 years old. And we can't come out and keep putting more dirt on top of it to keep it at 36 inches. But initially it would be 30, at minimum of 36. So it could be,
There will be some
48.
instances where we're going under storm culverts, or we're going through different types of geologic materials, so we have to go deeper. So that happens frequently.
Yeah, again, I do defer to our attorney, but if it says grantee shall bury the pipeline at 36 inches, you're not responsible if dirt erodes away. That's what you're doing initially. So I just put it out there for consideration of everyone who's listening. Another question, would this easement permit you going forward to bury more than one pipeline in the same location?
Yes, our standard language is for a multi-line easement. However, this is a transmission line. And our standards are 25 feet of separation between pipelines. And so if we were to put another transmission line in there, it would be at the very edge of the easement, and we'd have to come back and ask for an additional 25 feet to run adjacent to and parallel with the existing easement.
So the answer is with these measurements, it would not be possible for you to put a second line in with just this easement.
I'm saying that our standards is that we would not put a second line in. Now, 10 years down the road, they might come back and say, oh, we want to run a distribution line to serve this area out here, and they might use that existing easement to put a distribution line in, so that way we could add more customers onto the system. But I don't see them putting another transmission line in there.
But a distribution line would not require you to come back to us then again.
Correct.
Okay.
And keep in mind that distribution lines are for the most part, are plastic sort of lines. So those would be 1 inch, ½ inch, those are smaller plastic, whereas this is steel.
I have more questions, but does somebody else want to?
Go for it.
Okay. So under assignment and successors, here it says that your rights in this easement can be assigned in whole or part. Who would you anticipate that assignment to be to?
Well, I mean, Detroit Edison became DT when they bought out Michigan Consolidated Gas, 20 years ago?
Yeah, 2009. So just less than.
Yeah, so about 15, 16 years ago. So that would be the case. I mean, let's say that someone came in, Consumers Energy, sold all their electric facilities to ITC. DT did the same thing. And so that's why we have that in there, is in case in the future, if it makes sense from a business standpoint for us to sell off all of our gas assets, or, here recently, we had a division of DT called DT Midstream. And then they spun off into their own corporation. So we had to assign all of our midstream pipelines to them. So without that language in there, we wouldn't be able to assign those assets out ever. Which you might not think is a big deal, but with the tens of thousands of easements we have on record, hundreds of thousands, we'd miss it. We have no possible way of keeping track of 1 or 2 easements that don't want for us to assign that out ever.
And so such assignments would go to another utility provider? Would it be limited to another utility provider?
No, essentially they could assign it to anyone, but I don't know.
Hence my concern.
Anyone would
with that
still be
provision.
subject, this line is subject to federal and state regulations.
Okay.
So there's no one who could assume control who would not be subject to state or federal regulations. And that oversight and those testing requirements, there are federal testing requirements, there are state testing requirements. The Michigan Public Service Commission oversees these transmission lines. So again, there's no assignment that can occur without that type of oversight.
Okay. I still feel like that provision's kind of broad, but we'll defer to our counsel. On the first page, under easement description, it says that you folks under this agreement, easement agreement, would have the right of ingress and egress at convenient points for such purposes. So that's kind of an unlimited right to ingress and egress?
It is. We have to have access to our pipeline in case of an emergency. If something happens to that pipeline, we have to get to it, but we can only access it from the actual right of way. And let's say we're out in the middle of state land in the middle of winter. Our pipeline might be 20 feet right over there, but we can't access it without rights of ingress and egress. So we'd have to go down to the nearest seasonal road or whatever, and then come all the way down the right of way. It's just not possible. So yeah, we do have to have rights of ingress and egress at convenient points.
Okay, well, I appreciate the clarity on that. And then I have one other question for you. We got this
Yes.
packet last week? Okay. And in there, you mentioned that, let me find it so I'm specific. The DTE conducted a wetland delineation, habitat assessment, and cultural and archaeological survey of the proposed alignment to identify any environmental features.
Correct.
My question, what environmental features were identified?
I would have to get back to you on that one. I'm not an environmentalist, so.
That's we have a whole permit team that goes through this process.
Okay.
Nothing can be constructed without going through and doing all those surveys. We did a project, I don't know if you remember a few years ago, where we had to put new pipe under the Pine River going through Charlevoix, downtown Charlevoix. And we had to have an archaeologist on site with us through that project to make sure if anything were discovered as they did their boring. So that's the kind of things that occur as we go through the cultural assets, as we go through those environmental assets. We work directly with Eagle on any of those permits, the County Road Commission, Drain Commission, you know, any agency that has jurisdiction over any of the components of the project.
Thank you. Perhaps that individual could provide that information to
I'm happy to get that if they're, and specifically with regard to the city's parcel, any environmental assets that would require special permits. Yep, I'll get that.
Thank you.
Like to wait, Mr. Northrop?
Yeah, you said mine's more of a just a practical business question. You said the average price that you offer is 3,000 to 5,000. We're at the low end of that 3,000. Does that mean that was the starting point, or that was how it was? Shouldn't we be asking for, it's not a lot of money, but why wouldn't we get 5?
Again,
Or?
I mean, if you had a home out there and we were going right through your front yard, then we'd be at the higher end, closer to that 5,000. Keep in mind, we also do like pay for tree damages, which I'm sure you're gonna have tree damages out there, correct? I mean, so, you know, there'll be additional compensation for trees that we have to clear out, and that'll be for the full 75 feet in width. Any other damages that there might be, or if you all decide that you want to put up, you know, gates at each end of the right of way to keep snowmobilers out of there, or things of that nature, we can work with you on. But again, I mean, you know, if you have a house out there and we're going right through your front yard, to me, that's more impactful to a landowner than going through, you know, city-owned property.
You go through people's front doors.
Unfortunately, sometimes we have to.
Anybody else have a question? Ms. Walker?
Thank you, Mayor. Can you tell me why you're not using existing infrastructure like roads that already exist, or highways to connect to, your main connectivity points?
Yeah, so we actually, I put together a route to where we would just strictly follow city roads and county roads. It almost doubled the amount of pipeline we'd have to put in. We'd be coming right through the city of Petoskey, having to shut down neighborhood streets, and just the amount of impact to landowners. We are staying in county roads as much as possible. Well, I shouldn't say as much as possible. We go after private easements first, because if the county ever decides they want to expand their road, then it's up to us to relocate that line, and it's our expense. Now, we do have some landowners that are absolutely livid about this. So we're working with the county to move it out into the county road to get around those landowners so that we're not impacting their properties. One of them is going through their front yard. And so, you know, again, I totally understand why they don't want to work with us on it. So we're working with the county to just shift it out in the county road. So we do utilize as much as we can. Unfortunately, we don't have any pipelines on that side of town to where I could look for existing easements or follow, you know, current paths. There's not a whole lot of like electric line corridors, which sometimes we try to follow those as well. But so we do utilize everything that we can to minimize the impact to landowners that just don't really want us out there.
I will add just, Councilman, the company did a major project just like this, kind of in the same vein over in Traverse City area. Traverse City was also a one-way feed. All those customers in Benzie, Leelanau, and Grand Traverse County were served by a one-way feed that was put in the 1950s. So we went in and did new line, a duplicate line, actually, so we could have redundancy and ensure no issues with service. We put that line in, we used a lot of US 31 right of way for that project. That was done in 22. We finished that in 22, I think.
Yeah, construction. Yeah, we started in, I think, 21, but yeah.
This year, MDOT has decided to construct a traffic circle at Interlochen Four Corners. And so we have had to move all of that brand new transmission line. That cost then goes back onto the ratepayers. So that's, like I said, significant cost, especially said with plastic, it's a different animal. When we're talking steel, it's a much more complex, if you will, installation process. And so being in situations where we have to move it when there's a road widening becomes very costly and problematic.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Wilmot, oh, no, Ms. Walker, go for it.
I got a list. So I guess, so you did work with we are also part of the Michigan Municipal Power Association. So you did work with our partners at Traverse City Light and Power for that project that you're talking about in Grand Traverse County. I guess my curiosity is, where is, Michigan Municipal Power Association in regards to this? Because if we think about our 100% renewable energy goals by the year 2035, that involves the electrification of the grid. So in an ideal scenario, you would have homeowners investing in renewable energy, and they would eventually electrify their home. So they would go from a natural gas stove to an electric stove, and a hot water heater that would be electrified. So in terms of our renewable energy goals and our livable Petoskey master plan, this isn't really part of a formula of becoming resilient and 100%, renewable energy by 2035. So I don't know where that would kind of play into it. My second question would be, do you know what the width of the pipeline is? Is it an 8-inch, 12-inch,
It's a 10-inch.
10-inch pipeline?
Yeah.
And then
And I
will you
believe
be
that's top
running?
Drawing. Yeah.
Okay, so DTE is the owner of the pipeline. Who's the owner of the contents within the pipeline?
DTE will be purchasing all of the gas within this pipe. This will be DTE gas
Okay.
serving DTE customers.
Got it. And where are you connecting to?
TC Energy's gas line, which runs on a spine on I-75.
Okay, so that would be TransCanada.
Correct.
Okay, so it's Canadian
It's
Gas.
It's Great Lakes Gas Transmission Company, I think is the subsidiary
subsidiary,
of
yeah.
TC Energy.
Okay, so there would be the possibility of running something else besides natural gas in there, or no? Okay,
Now, this is in no way connected to line 5. It's in no way going to
well,
be carried.
TransCanada is a different company than Enbridge.
Correct.
Very-
There's
Correct.
no liquids will run through this pipeline.
Okay.
This is a dry gas only pipeline.
Okay, and then you talked about 36, so language questions in the, okay, so, and also, yeah, the offer is, so the property that we happen to own in Bear Creek Township, it's public land, and it's part of the North Country Trail. So in our world of, as a tourist-based economy and as ecotourism, we want connectivity of trails.
Absolutely.
So when I think about connectivity of natural gas, I don't really think that's in our self-interest. What we're interested is bringing tourists to our area to enjoy the natural bounty and beauty of this area. And also, if MPSC oversees the transmission lines, why are you coming to us first before actually getting authorization from Michigan Public Service Commission?
Well, I'd like to speak on the use of it, the trails. You're more than welcome to make a trail out of this 50-foot wide swath. I mean, this is actually an opportunity to give people way more walking trails and everything else out there. We come in and clear the trees for you. And I mean, we have no issues with, gravel paths, asphalt paths, bike trails, whatever you all would,
We've actually
deemed to
teamed
use
with
this
Park
for.
in the Traverse City area, and our pipeline, and we've repaved the trail. It's a 3-mile to 4-mile Mount Holiday area is a little old rail trail bed. Tart Trails operates it. Our gas pipeline is under it, and we've been working closely with Norte and Tart over there with regard to additional enhancements that are going to be needed as they go through that. DT's foundation is a huge supporter of trails and connectivity. The Iron Bell Trail head in Brownstown Township, DT's foundation has just helped support that, as well as when you look the DeQuinder Cut, you look at the Riverfront and Downtown Detroit, our foundation has funded huge investments in those. We're a big partner. Conservation Resource Alliance in Northwest Michigan is one of our largest partners. From the foundation standpoint, we're also a large partner with the Nature Conservancy here on Pines. So we've done a lot of work with those organizations. I'm all in on helping with trails. So we want to get some, and I've in fact had conversations with the team on this project of what we can do to help support North Country Trail as we go through this area. So absolutely.
That's
something-
great to hear, because we have a trail project ourselves, about a $25 million project, due to increased climate-related storms in the year 2000. We had lots of rain inundation and really high lake levels, and we lost, a significant section of our $1 million mile, which brings in about $10 million of annual revenue to our community. So connectivity is really important to us, but what kind of connectivity? And maybe there's a possibility for partnership both with TransCanada and DTE Energy to help us with our $25 million replacement of our bike path. So
We
thank you so
actually
much
had
for
some
answering.
conversations with regard to the trail there, and I've reached out to the North Country Trail folks.
Excellent.
And had some conversations already with them, but as we go through and have, potential mulch, we're willing to work, if we want to have, mulch on the trail that they need, we will have lots of it that we're willing to.
Can you also tell me one more quick question, Mayor? What happens to the spoils after you do the borings? Soil.
So most of this will be excavated open cut. So it's just gonna be the dirt will be mounded and then we'll put it back in.
Okay.
There will be instances where we have to do borings, directional bores. Those will be some of your road crossings, where MDOT or the road commission will not allow us to open cut the road. And so our preference is it's always safer when you're open cutting because you can see exactly what you're doing versus boring. With regard to when we do bores, there are very strict regulations with regard to how those spoils get managed and what we do with them. So that I would have to defer then to the permits that we receive. Again, working with the road commission and MDOT for what those specifications are for any boring we do. But I know the number of borings in this project are relatively limited.
Okay, and then it's the MPSC who gives you your final permit via Eagle for this project.
The Michigan Public Service Commission will give the permit. Everyone will have separate permits.
Okay.
So Eagle will have permits that specifically relate to any of our involvement with, if there's any involvement with wetlands, any involvement, with any of their purview. The MPSC has the ultimate authority over the approval of the placement of this pipeline.
Okay, thank you so much for your time.
And just, I know we're taking time and I don't want to take too much. I do want to say, with regard to the renewable energy, DTE is fully committed, both from our electric and our gas standpoint. We have plans on our electric standpoint to be zero carbon as well as on the gas side. We are working through numerous efforts. One of them is our natural gas balance program for customers, similar to what you see with Cherryland Electric or River City Light Power, where customers can sign up. We have a program for our gas customers as well. So we very progressive with regard to our energy efficiency standards and the opportunities that we offer for communities. We did a lot of outreach with municipal governments last year with some grants that were available with us in the state. We've also done a number of things with regard to tree plantings. We just did a planting in Bear Creek Township, actually, at the new park there off M119 this spring. So we're very active on that front, very understanding of that need.
Mr. Wilmot, you had a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, you've given us tonight these new visuals. I was wondering if you had them electronically that could be shared with the audience or the
Yeah.
Zoom audience.
Yeah. I have it available. What's our best way to do that? Is it something, we can put the drawing up on the city's website if you'd like. That drawing I sent you is something that certainly can be.
Yeah, we can put it out on our site.
Yeah, I wanted to share it with the audience tonight. If it's not currently readily available, then
I don't like walking away from the meeting and then having people say, you guys didn't present anything to us.
Mhm.
I'm sitting out in the audience and I don't know what the heck you're talking about. And
Could you
so,
email it to one of them real quick and then
I
they can
have
do a share screen?
Shane's got it, yeah.
Oh, okay.
sorry, but
Yep, no, that's perfect. And I did bring some extra copies of the design drawing that I
Yeah,
can
if
give
you
the members of the
want,
audience if
we
they're.
can share it with the audience. That'd be great. And then if you could just quickly walk us through the new visual that you created.
I have one question while that's going on, if you guys want.
Sure.
Okay, so we know what's going in the ground. We know how we're gonna get it there. My concern is, what is it gonna look like, top of the ground? A day after you get done, a year after you get done, 5 years, and here's my concern. Out on Berger Road, out on McDougal Road, I see where there are utility people who use Roundup and spray right next to the road. and brown everything up, and you know they're spraying something on it to kill it all, okay, underneath power lines. What happens if there's a tree, that's 6-inch, 8-inch tree growing on the line? You are not gonna allow that, are you?
We won't allow trees. No, the root structures.
Move, how are you going to maintain keeping stuff from growing there without Roundup? Will you put that in writing that you will not be using Roundup? Because here's why. People, I see them when I hike out there on Skyline Trail, which cuts across your eventual piece. I see people out there picking blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, strawberries. I see people out there foraging, picking stuff. My concern is your strip is the access for people to go picking. And I'm concerned about how that ground is treated to keep it with no large shrubs and trees. Are you gonna keep it down to a foot? Are you what are you doing?
So MPSC states that we have to maintain line of sight down our pipeline. And that's where like the bigger trees would come in. Also, root structures of trees are not a friend of pipelines.
Right.
But as far as clearing it, I know we do use some sort of chemical to clear certain sections of our right of way, but most of it we brush. Just a brush hog that we come through whenever it gets really overgrown to the point that we don't have line of sight.
I understand.
Then we come in and we brush it.
I won't vote yes on this if you're going to use some chemicals to spray that 50-foot strip.
Okay.
Because there's people out there harvesting stuff and then eating it.
Right. No, and I completely understand where you're coming from. So
Do we put that in the agreement that this area?
I think so.
We can add that.
I'm pretty sure. Let me talk to our operations manager because she's the one that's in charge of all that.
Okay.
But I'm sure we can add language in, especially considering, because I mean, that's a legitimate concern. I mean, I like to take my kid out and pick stuff
Yeah.
and I don't want him eating a bunch of Roundup,
Yeah.
so,
I see that you're gonna cross underneath the power line, correct?
I'm sure we
Power
do.
line that runs north to south,
Okay.
about a half a mile, a quarter mile in from Kraus Road, north and south. It's cleared. I see they come in, they grind it up. I see where they're not spraying anything and it's safe. And I see people out there picking blackberries in the
Mhm.
fall. But I just want to protect, this is city property and we need to make sure our citizens are not eating contaminated chemicals.
Right.
Essentially, you'd like something that says that the city approves the brush clearing without chemical
Yeah.
chemical defoliation.
Yeah.
Is that feasible?
I think so. I'm going to double check with our operations manager, but I don't see it being
I
an
don't
issue.
mean to be a stickler about it.
Right.
I
I mean, personally, I wouldn't pick something out in the wild and just eat it myself anyway, because I mean, I take it home and wash it first. I mean,
well,
but I do understand your concern.
washing Roundup off of something and then eating it? I wouldn't.
Well, I'm just saying I wouldn't go out in the woods and start picking stuff and eating it, right, without washing it first anyway,
I don't
but
think anybody does, but to take home chemicals, berries that have been sprayed on or are in an area where it's been done and they're growing up in that stuff, soil, I want the protection of our.
right. No, that's a legitimate concern. I'll talk to operations manager and see what we can do there.
And I will support you if you can come up with something to address that.
We'll make note.
Yeah.
Mr. Wilmot,
Yeah, now that you have the visual up,
Yes.
would you be kind enough, primarily for the benefit of our audience here tonight, to walk through it and maybe
Absolutely.
point to make it clear?
So on the other, and anyone can go to the county's, stay behind the microphone, sorry. Anyone can go to the county's website, their GIS, and pull up all the different parcels. The city does own 4 parcels on the west side of Kraus Road, between Brubaker and I forget the southern road. We're talking about the city's parcel at the the southwest corner of Brubaker and Kraus. That parcel then is what you would see, kind of Brubaker Road. It kind of runs along Brubaker Road along the north side and south. The square that you see, the inset, the bottom inset is the kind of the contextual location of the easement, the design drawing that is above. So that design drawing is that inset. There is an access road to a US government parcel that is the very southern edge of the city's parcel. That is where we would propose coming in, right on the north side of that access road is where we would cross. And that line then would continue directly west, almost in a direct line with Click Road, where Click Road ends. And so we would follow for the extent of the city's parcel, which is about a third of the full parcel, the access road is. We will follow that shoulder, if you will, of the access road, and then continue straight west towards where Click Road is. Are we using right away on Click Road at that portion at the end?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, so that's how we would be connecting up. And again, that's what folks would be seeing here. The red line that they're seeing is where the pipeline's the center. That's the proposed center of our pipeline. And then the white dashed line is the 25-foot either side. The hash marked on the north end, the white hash marks, that is the temporary workspace that would be happy to say goes away as soon as our construction is complete. That access goes away as soon as that construction is complete. And so that is what you're seeing here. Kraus Road is at the right end. That government parcel is down kind of in the center.
So the total distance across city property from Kraus Road to the edge of our property toward Click is,
Is it on your drawing here?
I don't know.
It just says acres.
Is it in your easement doc? It's gotta be in your easement document.
Yeah, I don't have a copy of that easement with me. It is in the easement document on the Exhibit A or the plat map that's attached. That should give you all your footages there.
I don't have a copy of that. Shane, you have a copy that can have.
Here, it's in their packet.
It'd be on, I could see the map that he's looking at, that it should be on there. Okay. So yeah, like on this Exhibit A right here, if you look, where it has the coordinates, the lat and long. And then next to it, it'll say, 2,163.40 feet. And then on the bottom of that, it's 2,581.30 feet. That's because that section line must be at a little bit of an angle, or actually where we come in at, I guess. But so that's going to be your approximate footages right there.
2,500 roughly.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to
2,100?
be, roughly 2,300 feet.
So half a mile.
For this one, yes. I don't know if there's other parcels or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
See what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yep.
And it appears from this map arbitrarily, without the exact dimensions, that the portion that parallels the US government driveway
Correct.
is about a third of the distance of.
Correct. Yeah, just
crossing
from an
city
eyeball
property.
standpoint. Yes. And again, we're staying pretty close to the border of the city's parcel. That's the whole stretch.
Well, if you talk about multiple city parcels, it's down the middle.
No, remember, your parcels are vertical,
Yes.
one on top of the other. We are running across the bottom of the top parcel.
That's correct, yes.
Yes, so we're only.
But where the parcels join, you're going,
Across-
effectively going across both parcels.
I don't know if we're crossing the border, like I said, because the access road is, we're staying on the north side, we're staying in
After the
parcel.
access road to Click, you're going across open country.
Right, and I
where
believe we're
the
staying,
Properties connect.
right, but I believe we're staying, I believe the easement is staying, and that would be all reflected in the easement document, what parcels we're in.
On the one parcel, I understand it's on the one
Yes.
parcel, but since our parcels connect, effectively speaking, you're going through the middle of our land. Not the
Okay.
parcel.
I see what you're saying, okay, yes, all right, yes, I was taking it as parcels, but yeah.
So
just the
that
one-
distance through existing forest territory is, if the whole thing is roughly a half a mile, it's roughly, a third of a mile. For open wooded area, just for clarification, thank you.
Correct. And that is something, again, where DTE will, when we do our restoration work, we'll work with the city on any specific restoration desires you have. If you want us to plant pollinators in there, if you want us to have mulch in certain areas, if you're saying, hey, we lost 6 trees, we'd like you to replace 6 trees. Those are things that our team works with all of our landowners on those type of conversations.
I think sometimes the problem occurs out there is when logging or something comes through and there isn't some stop. This becomes a natural driving 4-wheeler trail right on through then.
Well, and we can install gates. Typically what we do on something like that is it'd be 2 steel posts with a really thick chain that connects the two. Y'all would have a lock, we'd have a lock, we daisy chain those both, so that we both have access to it. But that keeps people, like, people can't just go out there with a pair of bolt cutters and cut the chains we put up. And that just kind of stops that. As far as logging goes, we don't allow logging trucks.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I saw what.
But you are 100% correct that a lot of times, and I mean, I've been guilty of this myself because I have a UTV. I take my son out, we go riding. And I've been guilty of this. I would see a path. I would think it was a trail. I'd head off down it. Next thing I realize I'm on private property and I'm getting out of there as quick as I can, So yeah, I totally understand that concern. What we do is, like I said, we can put up that fence or we can compensate you all to put up if you have a different style of fence you'd like to see. I mean, all that we can work with.
Yeah, work with their city manager and with our Parks and Rec guy for that.
Yep, absolutely.
Ms. Demore.
So I was just gonna say, I appreciate all your answers this evening. For my part, at this juncture, I'm not ready to move this forward. I would like to see more dialogue about the price per acre, number one. And number two, I'd like further dialogue about the breadth of some of these provisions in the agreement, mostly that I referenced. So that's just my perspective. Thank you.
What is your timeline, please?
As soon as possible. We've already acquired approximately 65% of this. We're trying to get to construction by next year. I mean, we're at the final stages of this project. That's why we were really hoping that, we might have received an invite to last month's meeting so that we could go ahead and get a lot of this resolved.
Would you be open to our commitment to negotiate with the city manager on the?
No. No. I'm not gonna put him on the spot in that situation, because city council is the one ultimately is gonna have to make the decision. And I'm not willing to put Shane out there, hanging him out there, and then afterwards, somebody
People
here
not happy with it.
with what he made the decision. So you'll have to negotiate with these 5 people here. And I'm not talking of negotiations either. I'm talking, let's just get this thing done for you. It's needed. It's important. And I think
We just want the finer points completed.
you have questions, you have comments. Ms. Walker, do you have any more questions?
Sure, I guess, it feels a little disingenuous for you to tell us that you're, like, the deal's 65% done when, like, Michigan Public Service Commission is, like, they're nowhere to be seen in this process yet.
Right.
So I guess, what's your timeline with Michigan Public Service Commission, who ultimately does all the permitting? So you get all your ducks in a row here and you have a certain level of commitment, 25, 10%, 35, 85%. And then MPSC evaluates and then grants the permit. So it feels a little disingenuous to be like pressured into making a decision because you're 65% done. So.
Well, and that was not my intent at all. The MPSC is completely separate of what I'm talking about as far as voluntary acquisitions for easements. Now, where MPSC does come in, and nobody really likes talking about this, but when you have 84 landowners that you're trying to acquire easements from, you're not going to get 100% voluntary acquisition. That's almost impossible. Okay, I've been doing this for 20 years. And I've never seen a project go through with 100% voluntary acquisition. So, of course, then we acquired the rights of condemnation through the MPSC. okay, for the ones that we just absolutely can't negotiate with and come to terms with. But when I say we're at 65%, that's how many we've gotten voluntarily acquired. And so I've got 35% left, which City of Petoskey has a pretty good chunk here. And I mean, just running the numbers off the top of my head, it would add, several percentage points to that. And so that's the reason why I said we are at 65%. We've been working on acquisition for about a year now. And we're at the final stages of the acquisition process.
I
Wish
get,
it would have come sooner because we probably would have taken care of this sooner as you started last year and now you're here on.
Well, I believe
We
we,
want to work with you.
right, I think we started communications pretty early on. I normally try to reach out to municipalities first. I can go back through the email chains and see, we keep contact logs of everything that's been sent. It's just trying to get an open dialogue in between these monthly meetings to where we can answer these questions and then even reinforce those during the meeting. Talk about compensation, negotiate that rather than having to wait until the monthly meeting to show up and have all these discussions and then, find answers for the questions that we can't answer tonight and then show up, again in a month to answer those questions. If we can keep an open dialogue during that month long, then I feel like we can get a lot of this resolved to where, we show back up next month and, if there's a few outstanding items, we can address those.
How about if council members, if you have questions before the next time we meet with these guys, if you have questions, you send them to City Manager Horn. He sends them the question as well as everybody on council gets the questions that that you're asking. Would that work for you, council?
I mean, I think my questions are on the record. Yeah.
And I've got those.
I guess I'm just wondering where our municipal, like our township, and if any of the land traverses any county. So altogether, how much public land are we talking about? We're talking about Bear Creek Township, Springvale Township, City of Petoskey. The is it the US Forest Service that owns this federal piece of land here?
We're north of that parcel.
Okay, so that's this big, United States government parcel we're seeing there. Okay, that's the US Forest. So that's where the fire towers are, I'm assuming?
No,
Okay,
there's a radar.
okay. So other than Springvale Township, they have to approve it. Bear Creek Township has to approve it. Maybe Emmett County, if they own any public land. Are there any other municipalities or public lands that you're talking about?
I don't think we're going across any township owned parcels. We are going across, DNR parcels.
Okay, so state of Michigan.
Yes.
From state of Michigan,
Count.
correct.
So no other public entities other than the City of Petoskey?
That's
DNR,
correct. We did have a Bear Creek Township parcel, but I think we ended up skirting to the south a bit because that's where they put that brand new,
Township Hall? and-
yeah. And our Google Earth, it's not updated enough for us to see that. So we had our pipeline going right through there. When we showed up to our site walk, our initial site walk, we saw that and obviously had to reroute our line.
Okay, so there's no other public entities other than us?
The road commission and
Well, now the road commission is responsible for approving where we're going in the county road right away. It's not any land that they own that we're crossing.
Okay, thank you.
they already
Anyone
have
else a
public.
question or comment?
Yeah,
Mr.
just
Wilma.
for clarification, we meet every 2 weeks.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. Yes.
Not, unless city council is gonna sit down and make sense.
No, they were prepared to come when you guys were doing ward conventions, and that's why there was a
Yeah.
gap there.
There was a gap there.
Yeah. I guess is there any desire to try to negotiate the price per acre tonight, or what do you want to do with that?
Mr.
He's the guy.
On top.
That was my original question. It just seems like why would we be at the low end of this? And this is a big parcel for us. And as you can tell, there's a lot of controversy about it. It would seem like we ought to be at the higher end from a practical standpoint, but I don't know how to negotiate that with you.
Well, and I mean, if you all want the 5,000 acre instead of 2,000 acre or 3,000 acre, we're taking up, how many acres does it say on there?
It's 2.63.
Okay, so an extra $4,000. I mean, I'm not gonna split hairs over that. I can also, I need to take a closer look at how many trees are coming out and offer tree damage. But that should be about another, I'm gonna say 5,000 to 7,000.
There are a lot of trees that you're taking out there, I believe, from going up and trying to walk it. correct?
Right.
You've been on there.
Yeah, I mean, well, I haven't been out on the property, but we've been by there several times.
Okay, but you haven't walked it, so to speak.
No.
Mayor?
Mr. Nantra.
Yeah, just generally, I'm supporting this and I'm, I'd like to, I think that you brought up some really good questions. And just my only view on this is I feel like we should get a very good compensation for it. That's it. Other than, I think it brought up some really interesting points that we need to be careful of. We'd like to see that.
20 grand.
Oh, is that original?
Yes.
But it's not a lot of money. I mean, there's not a lot of money involved, but it's,
Right, there's not a lot of acres involved here.
no,
Move
no.
back to the podium so they can, that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's not a lot of money, but again, I go back to the gentleman that has 0.01 acres that we're affecting. We're bore drilling under the very triangular corner of his piece of property with no trees or anything. And he wants $5 grand for it. I can't justify $500,000 an acre for him. And then when his neighbor's getting 5,000 acre, I'm the one that has to take those phone calls when people start talking and finding out. And I don't like those phone calls.
All we did, you said 3,000 to 5,000 and I'm
Right.
anchoring off of that.
Right.
It's all, it's just, and you had, and we are at the low end of that. And so I'm trying to understand, we're at the.
Yeah,
low end
and
of
again-
that. And is that fair?
Because I mean, we see pretty much vacant property that has trails on it that we're not going to disturb. Now, we are going to be removing the trees, which is why we offer tree damage. But we're not going right in front of someone's house. We're not, damaging their septic fields or blowing out their water wells or going right next to the pole barn or where their kids play or anything else.
That's not relevant to us.
Well, right. and
Well,
then-
I'm just saying that's the reason why we started off at the $3 grand an acre. However, I mean, if it's going to take
Can
an
you do
extra,
anything with that number?
yeah, I mean, I don't see any damages for trees on here. So I mean, this is at 9360 right now. I mean, with the amount of trees that we're taking out, let's say another probably $5 grand there. I mean, I could probably get this number close to, I'm gonna say probably 15 to 16,000.
So double.
Hmm.
Oh, down there, yeah.
What is that price per acre then you're at to come to that number?
Two components to it.
Well, I mean, if it was 16,000 per acre, the total, if we're taking up 2 acres, that'd be about $8,000 an acre, but that includes the tree damages. Yeah, 2.63 acres, I see. But yeah, so I mean, that would include the tree damages as well.
8,000 an acre?
Mhm.
Again, it's not a lot of money, but it's just
Actually, a little less. 2 would be 8,000 an acre, so it's 2.63. So it's a little less than 8,000. It's more like 7,000.
Yes.
And I mean, if you all have a number in mind, I mean, work with me here. I mean, don't come back at 50 grand or I'm just gonna have to turn around and walk off, but
just speaking for myself.
because again, keep in mind.
I
You'll
thought-
take anything under 50,000.
Wait, I need
No.
to say.
I have a number for you.
What does that number come out to?
No, because again, keep in mind that this meeting is being live streamed to however many people are watching it. I want to be able to answer for it. And I don't want for anyone out there to feel like we're taking advantage of them,
But understand, we're talking about, we're the stewards of the city of Petoskey. And we're to worry about the city of Petoskey, not about your job or who you're dealing with outside of here before or after. It's like.
15,000 divided by the acre.
You're just like other property. owners.
Just like every property owner, and we're supposed to be good stewards of the city's money and the city's property and protect it, so. Would you let me know what you three or two came up with?
I just calculated it.
Calculating.
I just calculated it. $16,000 including, $16,000 including the tree damage comes out to $6,083 per acre.
Is that exclusive of the temporary workspace?
Yes.
That 16,000 number exclusive of?
that would include
Include.
the temporary workspace.
Includes it.
So I'd be thinking about a round number of $20,000. That's what I'd be thinking about. Just one person.
Are you interested?
If it will get this thing moved forward tonight with the agreement that we will negotiate the stipulations that you've pointed out as far as the chemicals and the, what else?
Ingress,
for my
egress
part-
questions.
Yeah, for my part, that's just the number. I want our attorney to look at these provisions and get her advice on that. So I would have to see that as well, for my part,
No decision tonight is what.
for me, just for me. But we've got a number. Whoops.
Yeah, you're not, what questions, I'm okay with understanding that because we approve this, do we still have the option of our city attorney reviewing it, or do we need to have you review it prior to approving it?
They have reviewed it.
We've reviewed the current draft, but if we're going to make changes to it, you can either give us very specific direction on what those changes are, or we can do the changes and bring them back in 2 weeks, which I am probably more comfortable with.
You're more comfortable with 2 weeks?
When we're talking about not knowing exactly what that language is, I want to make sure the council's comfortable with this, whatever DTE is comfortable with.
Well, so far, we're at the no chemical, which I'm gonna double check on to make sure, but I don't think that's an issue.
You would like the Eagle permit, what do we have to, what assets might require Eagle permits on this parcel?
Rather than going through everything, it's all on the record, you know, and our council has that. I think what's appropriate is perhaps we have a number here. We give her 2 weeks to put this together. Everybody gets to see it, and that's what I would propose.
And our next meeting is in 2 weeks.
I'm gonna ask Laura, our city attorney.
I was just going to add to that, and we would communicate that with DTE before the meeting to make sure it's acceptable to them as well. And City Manager Horn can help facilitate who.
Yes, please.
So in 2 weeks, you can get a yes, probably.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's fine. I can live with
Yeah,
that.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Thank
all
you.
right.
We, and
We
we are fully
we're not gonna
available.
Kick stuff down the.
No, We appreciate that. And we're fully available for any questions in the interim as well. I
Yeah.
think I've left all of you voicemails or talked with you, so you've got all my numbers. And we'll make sure, we'll connect up and Shane, and we'll make sure we get everything tightened up here so that in 2 weeks, you've got a complete package.
And so you said that you will come up with a list of the revised language that you'd like to see?
We'll put together an updated draft
Okay,
and get it to you.
okay. And if you'd like the Word doc of this easement, if that would make it easier, just let me know.
I think we already converted it to a Word document, but
Oh.
if we didn't, I'll let you know.
Yeah, just let me know.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Can
Appreciate
I
it.
have my page back?
And if we could
Oh,
see
yeah.
those environmental analysis through the city manager, would be much appreciated.
If there are.
Thank you so much.
Gentlemen, travel safe to wherever you're going.
Thank you.
All right,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you very much. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Second reading, possible adoption of proposed ordinance amending chapter 21, traffic and motor vehicles, regulating bicycles. Turn it over to City Manager Horn.
I don't really have anything further to add. We've talked about this several times. I just want to confirm what's in front of you. This is a second reading. Nothing's changed from our previous discussion on this topic. This is a second reading. Again, no changes. Essentially, the language is exactly the same as our prior meeting.
Okay. We've had it discussed, Mr. Wilmot.
I'll get the ball rolling by moving that we accept the ordinance in the form that it's currently written in our packets and ratify as a result of the second reading.
Support.
We have a motion by Mr. Wilmot, a second by Ms. Demore. Now we have discussion. Council, you wish to discuss this? Ms. Walker.
Thank you, Mayor. So from what I understand, currently as this is written, the Greenway, which was created as a Rails to Trails program, the Greenway specifically from Michigan Street to Howard Street, and then the Greenway continuation from Lake Street to Bay Street, both Rails to Trails program, which the Greenway was created for bicycle and pedestrian traffic, will be part of what is no longer allowed to be traversed by bicycles in the central business district. So if that is the case, then I would not approve the ordinance as written. I'm more than happy to approve the second, third, and fourth pieces of this ordinance revision, like the bicycle permits, like you have to have you be a registered bicycle. There's several things that I think are the lowest hanging fruits, but as it is written, I would never approve something that was created a decade ago as a rails to trails program and exempt bicycles from being able to traverse that greenway 8-foot designated bicycle and pedestrian walkway.
Thank you. Mr. Wilmot, you had your.
Just as a point of clarification, the rails between Bay and Mitchell are still in place. The rail to trail conversion has never taken place because it's been the wishes of the citizens to leave the tracks in place. So there is clearly a break in the logic stream there.
Well, yes, that's correct. So the rails are still in place. Correct, but the bike path was created at an 8-foot width, which is intended for bicycles. And so Park Avenue, absolutely, totally agree that bikes should not be on there. Pennsylvania Park, happy to walk by the monuments because the sidewalk is probably 4 to 6 feet wide. Park Avenue, absolutely, that should be for on-street dining as we approved 3 years ago in our capital improvement plan. That all makes sense to me. But to have a gap where bicycles can't go through are not permitted. So that means that if you were to dismount at the end of the Greenway path on Michigan Street, then you would proceed up Michigan Street to Division and go around the city that way as a place where you could safely ride bicycles. And that would be on street and on sidewalk. But there's several places where you can't ride a bike because the street has been narrowed with the green medians. And then you have cars parked, and then you only have one place for vehicles to go. So there you have no place for bicyclists at all. You can't go on the sidewalk, you can't go on the street. So Mitchell's pretty much, you can't bike down Mitchell Street unless you're driving down the middle of the street, just like a vehicle, like a car would drive down.
I do see that, though. I see more and more people riding their bikes.
Well, that's because you have no choice of where you're supposed to go. So
But-
other cities that we've kind of talked to and we've compared notes with, they have a non-motorized plan and they have bike paths on the city streets and a designated lane. Like that train's left a long time ago. I don't know how we would bring something back by just outlawing all bicycles in the central business district.
Anyone else wish to speak? Mr. Knoptrop.
Yeah, I simply can't support it as written either. We've had a lot of discussion. We had it at the county meetings or the ward meetings. We've had a lot of pros and cons on this. I've gotten more feedback from people in my ward than I care to even think about. And, you know, at the one council meeting, this council had a very specific, when Lindsay wasn't here, had a very specific request to get the feedback from the Parks and Recreation and the Downtown Business Management Board or Downtown, whatever you guys are. And we got their recommendations. There was nothing put on the agenda to have as any kind of a compromise. And I was told upon my inquiries to the city manager, the reason was no other compromises were put on is because he was told that he had the votes of 3 people already and it didn't really matter. So I have a real concern about the process on that. But having said all that, you know, I feel like we should be allowing some, you know, we talked about advancing the study, the consultants to get a whole update of the policy, which it seems to me that ought to be part of this resolution at minimum. At minimum, that ought to be part of this thing is, and I realize there's been a lot of discussion about, well, let's tighten it up and restrict it, and we can always loosen it up, and once things are in, it's hard to get them switched. I think there's been a lot of discussion, and I've got emails, we've got emails about this, about there's no reported incidences. I understand there's, but that is data that we have, that there isn't anything going on that is a big, that is created any damage. I want safety too. I mean, my God, do I want safety. It was just seemed to me that there ought to be a way to use those other roads and to go follow more along what the Downtown Management Board recommended, which is restrict the bike use in the sidewalks, in the storefronts, Park Avenue, let the upper roads be used, modify whatever we have to do to modify the road so it's usable. And then quick like a bunny, get the extra opinions in there. I sure wish we would be willing to compromise and not just ignore the recommendation of Parks and Recreation and ignore the Downtown Management Board and at least 2 of the council members. I think we should not ignore that. And one last thing. I think that sends a very poor message. I realize that at the last meeting I said, well, we're not banning bikes. And I get that. But to me, in all due respect to everybody, that's semantics. We are banning the use of bikes. We can walk through them, but we're banning the use of bikes in the central business district. We are. And we're not banning bikes, we're banning the use of them. And with all the updated electrical devices, I have more problems with e-bikes than bicycles. And it seems to me that we ought to get a real comprehensive study done on that. Thank you.
No, I just want to make sure I clearly understand both your positions. So if I were to say, if this was only about what the DMV and the Parks and Recs approved, so Downtown Central District Business District, is that something you're both in favor of? I'm honestly just trying to make clarity, not put you on the spot.
What I personally believe is, one, we don't have all the data, and we should get this study done and do it now for the whole ball of wax. 2, I feel like there ought to be a way to traverse through the green belt area, somehow utilizing the other roads, not Park Avenue. I'm okay with banning Park Avenue. But it seems to me there ought to be a way that we could do that one block, or I mean, it just seems to me there ought to be a way to do that.
I'm listening. I like you to, people call me and they have a complaint about something and say, this is, this is not right. Something's wrong here. And I come back and I say to them, you have thought about this more than me. What is your suggestion? So, Mr. Knobtop, what is your suggestion to getting around that? If you think, that seems you've spent time on this.
When I was walking, when this all came up, I felt like I've been there 1,000 times, not like you guys. You guys have probably been there a whole lot more. But I walked through, and the one section that's a little road where Kendall was talking about the trees, the line of sight, it seemed to me that road ought to be allowed to be used.
Along the bushes.
Along the bushes.
Between Bay and Lake.
Correct.
That's Greenway, yeah.
Correct.
Well, that was,
That seems like a safe. There's not a lot of residents, people walking.
You had a question, Mr. Moore. I'll let you.
no, I was just gonna, did you want to respond to that?
Sure. I mean, I think a compromise would be allow the Greenway to continue being a bike and pedestrian path as it was intended. And I understand having to go through Pennsylvania Park. It's really narrow. I mean, what are the options? You could take your bike on the railroad tracks. With mountain bikes, that's probably fine. I don't know if the Parks and Recreation wants people biking on the grass. I don't know that. That's an alternative to getting off the sidewalk, but I don't know if that's something that is encouraged or discouraged. And then we have all these bike stands where you can park your bike, and it's like, we're promoting connectivity, but not here and 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 not here. And I get it. In front of sidewalks, the way that you ask the question determines the answer. Anybody can watch the video of the Downtown Management Board meeting. The mayor pretty much sat silent the entire meeting and allowed public discourse and the DMB to kind of discuss it amongst themselves. There were moments of of silence that were so very awkward. And I think the way that you ask the question determines the answer. So the horse were led to the water, and of course they're gonna say, of course we want safety in front of our businesses. Of course, we're not gonna allow bikes on downtown streets, on Lake, well, who shops on Mitchell Street? On Lake and Howard and parts of Bay Street. It's just for the sake of safety, it makes sense as a cyclist. And I know that I'm not the cyclist that's the problem. It's the folks that are not following the rule of law, which I don't know how much signage and law enforcement and enforcement you're gonna have to correct the bad behavior that's happening right now, which is the impetus for changing things. But I think the greenway should remain accessible for bicycles.
And Lindsay, when you mention the Greenway, are you talking about the section between Bay and
Yeah.
Lake?
The greenway is all the sections that have been, the 8 feet swaths that have been created. And we have a really hard time remembering in this entity what happened 10, 20, and 30 years ago. But the public investment and the amount of investment, public investment that went towards infrastructure is clearly something that is researchable in this context. Now, the fact that nobody knows who owns the bike path and who's responsible for it, this whole downtown greenway pathway is also like a cognitive disconnect in understanding what that public investment was and the why we did it and why the railroad tracks remain in Pennsylvania Park and in the extension of Park Avenue of Pennsylvania Park, probably because people are really attached to old school infrastructure and they want to remember the glory days of having a railroad.
I don't think any of those people that walk that railroad track or sit on the cannon are thinking nostalgia of of growing up, you know what I mean? That stuff was there long before anybody that is living now, okay?
Sure.
My piece was this, is somebody sent me something, I found this really interesting. It said, the concern is young children hear a bell on a bike and don't have an idea what that bell means. Or the person that's elderly that doesn't hear as well. This is a protection of people in Pennsylvania Park in that stretch to be able to walk freely without a parent or without an elderly person not wanting to come because they're afraid of getting run over by a bike downtown in Pennsylvania Park. The DMB, or the Parks and Rec, stated, unanimously recommend the city council support the existing pathway in Pennsylvania Park as the main route for non-motorized vehicle. The Parks and Rec people said should drive right through Pennsylvania Park on bikes. Go for it. I have an issue with that. I've been down there and I see what happens. As you know, there is a monument, a Blue Star, Mother's Blue Star monument piece. Then it's 18 inches or so that you have to ride or walk around those on each side. I believe that we need to work on looking at the mobilizational trail that we want, non-motorized trail system. I think we need to get that expert in there. City manager is looking at that, is reviewing it currently, who's available to give us consulting. But I think at the current time, I think it's protecting individuals that are the most vulnerable. The children, the elderly, that I want them to be able to walk. And to ask somebody to walk their bike for a block, 2 blocks, I think is not asking for a life and limb from them. That's my feelings about it. Do we need to address this as a council and as a city about electric bikes going 35? I was going 30 miles. I was telling you Magnus Park, and I put my truck up to 30, and I had an electric bike pass me like I was standing still, a bicycle, not a motorcycle. I think that we need to do some addressing of this as council and as city, a big plan here. And I think it's going to take time, but I have concerns about the kid. I have a concern about the elderly right now. That's all. Mr. Knobtrop.
So, you know, Mayor, I do too. I think the degree of risk is so darn low. I mean, there is a risk. There's no question. And I said this before is that the vast majority of bikers are respectful. The vast majority of bikers would get off in a congested area. The vast majority of bikers, which you might have some issues with maybe some teenagers that don't understand all the rules of the road yet. I don't know that. The other thing, I distinctly remember the director of public safety saying he probably would not be enforcing this that much. It'll be more about education and a exception rule and not, so I'm having trouble. You have so many people saying that, well, we're probably not going to really be trying to enforce this anyway. We're going to be having some education. And then I hear in the FOIA request, there's been no incidents, not even one of a report. That makes no sense to me that we have a serious liability risk. That's all.
But also in the report, it says businesses have complained and there have been many near misses due to these devices zooming down sidewalks, diagonally across intersections and around blind spots. Behavior is not limited to children, but adult and serious bike riders who should know better. This is in the cities.
Where are you?
I'm reading from the background from our city manager, which says background on the first page, first
Okay.
chapter, halfway down. Ms. Demore.
So again, this is probably my failing, not yours, but as I'm listening to the two of you, it sounds like the two of you are in agreement, and tell me if I'm wrong, that bikes should be walked in Pennsylvania Park. Is that wrong?
Sure.
Pennsylvania Park, to me,
Let me delineate, I'm sorry, between Lake and Mitchell, where the monuments are.
There is no greenway designated wide sidewalk there for bikes to traverse. So I would tend to agree with the DMB and Parks and Rec that, well, Pennsylvania Park, they said that Pennsylvania Park is fine to traverse on bike through the monuments, through that very narrow sidewalk where it splits there. So if,
Do you agree with that?
no, I don't. I think that of all things but I'm saying, like, if you're gonna ban bikes on the sidewalks of the central business district, fully encompassing the central business district, then the greenway needs to be exempted from that. That's what I'm saying.
And when you say the greenway, you're referencing between Bay,
Michigan and
Lake.
Mitchell, and then
Bay.
Lake to Bay.
Lake to Bay.
Yeah.
Is that where you are?
I have a slightly different bent to that.
Okay.
In principle, I'm with Lindsay on this. In principle, I think that it makes the most sense to allow the bike along the brush road in that other block.
Where the bushes
where
are.
the bushes
Of
are.
the greenway.
Bay to Lake.
And the Pennsylvania Park, as I looked at it, is at least during the congested times, it makes no sense because the Park Avenue is a very cool part of walking through Pennsylvania Park. I love that, and there's a lot of activity there. Banning the use of bikes there makes sense. How you get through Pennsylvania Park with a bike is a little bit more cumbersome. Well, let me finish. And I agree that that makes that we need more work on that. And I'm okay with banning it at that section. That's the section that probably I'm more in agreement with you, pending the overall analysis of the experts.
Thank you for clarifying. I appreciate it.
Anyone else with speak to council? I'm going to go and take public comments at this point. Ms. Demore.
I'll just say one other thing. You know, if you read what's in these amendments, like section 2, which my colleague Ms. Walker noted, I believe, and section 3, those are the beginnings of addressing motorized vehicles on these pathways. Now, it's certainly not sufficient, but it is the beginning of that here. So I just wanted to point that out, not necessarily to the two of you, but anybody that maybe has not, dug into every one of these provisions here. That's all. Thank you.
Mr. Wilmot.
Yeah, I just want to clarify my position. My position is that we need to update the 2015 non-motorized transportation plan for the entire city, which will address multiple issues, this being one of them. In the meantime, I think we need to have an ordinance on the books that will be enforceable for folks that are violators and are perhaps cause injury or harm. And we have nothing on the books to protect the pedestrians in that case. I think that in the meantime, we should have that on the books. Thank you.
And I concur with that. I see this effort as a bridge to a revision of the 2015 plan. That this is an interim measure because there's no framework right now for enforcement. And those of you we've heard from are not the folks that are doing these things that have become problematical. I don't know if you were all here earlier when Mrs. Wrigley spoke. I've heard from a lot of walkers who've had close calls with bicycles who have said to me, I didn't even think to call the police to report it. So it's true that at this juncture, they're anecdotal, but I don't believe people would come forward and misrepresent what their experiences have been. So I think having a framework for enforcement is very important. And just momentarily, I'd like to speak to what Mr. Nachtraub said about enforcement. At Ward 1, this will be a repeat of what I've said there at our ward convention, but frankly, all enforcement is selective. All enforcement of legal rules and regulations are selective. And the example I gave at the ward convention is we have an ordinance that says you have to have a bike license. I asked how many people have a bike license. Nobody raised their hand. By the way, I think they're 50 cents. This has never been enforced, of course, because, you know, it doesn't make sense. So most of us have traveled on I-75 at 80 miles an hour. I don't know how many of you have been pulled over. I have not. That's selective enforcement. So you set up a framework so that when bad actors do things that are dangerous, you have an opportunity for public safety to address this. That's the goal. It's not as though someone's going to stand on the corner and hand out tickets to everybody or hand out tickets randomly. And I think our job as folks in governance is, if public safety exercise their judgment in a way that's inappropriate, then it should come to us. But we give them that leeway to use their judgment and give them a framework to exercise that judgment as it's appropriate. So that would be my response to you. Thank you.
The public wish to weigh in on this. If you do, you'll have time to do that. You'll give your full name. You'll have opportunity to speak up here. You were to speak to the council. You're not speaking to the audience, you're addressing the council. Is there anybody who wishes to speak to council at this point? Sir.
I am Mark Tarquini, 1040 Hoffman Street. I walk, I ride, and I also drive my vehicle everywhere. And I don't think this is something that we need to have on the books. I think we're micromanaging stuff here. Yes, I take a risk every time I leave my house, whether I'm on my bike or walking downtown or driving my car. Something's gonna happen at some point, possibly. That's a risk I take. I am more worried about the kid on the e-bike on my street zooming down and running over my 5-year-old on her pedal bike. So we're always outside watching. But I don't think you can ban e-bikes either. If I was to make any suggestion to the changes I saw in the packet, I would say make a change to, was it chapter 21, section 82? Change the speed limit of 20 miles an hour to 5 downtown. An e-bike going 20 miles an hour scares the crap out of me on my regular bike. I ride to Harbor to go to work as well, and the e-bikes there are nuts. I will look out my window every single day at my office in Harbor Springs. Bay Street there is clogged from mid-June almost to Labor Day with walkers, bikes, and cars. Almost at a standstill every single day, and everybody gets by. Yes, there's honking, yes, there's frustration, but it seems to be working there. Park Avenue. I am guilty of riding my bike on Park Avenue every Thursday night coming home from Petoskey Run Club. I cut through the alleys and then I go up Park Avenue, and then I ride up Lake Street. My son argues that Mitchell Street is less of a slope than Lake Street. Maybe I should switch. Again, I think that there's just the 1% of people that are kind of ruining the biking for people downtown. And that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. I don't think we can have a rule for every single little thing that drives us nuts. And I'm also a fan of leaving the railroad tracks. My kids love to balance on them. I like the railroad tracks for the nostalgic aspect of them, to remind me of the time of all the hard work that people put in before me to make Petoskey what it is, and when life was a lot harder to live up here. That's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wish to speak to council?
Hello, council members. My name is Olivia Rollinger, and I've lived in Petoskey for the last 5 years. I'm just outside of the city off of Sheridan up the Willis Street Hill. And this summer, I've had the great privilege of getting to bike to work almost every day. I started a new job and I bike 7 miles. And one of the reasons I'm able to do that safely is because I can ride on the City of Petoskey sidewalks, I can ride on the downtown Greenway, and I also use the Little Traverse Wheelway. And I would not feel safe biking on the streets in the City of Petoskey. They're incredibly narrow and they have no precautions to keep bikers safe. And so I do ride down Pennsylvania Park almost every day, and I go incredibly slowly. I yield to children, and it's a vital part of me getting home safely. I just want to ask you to please continue to allow bikers safe passage through the City of Petoskey on the sidewalks and on the Greenway. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to council?
Hi, I'm Russ Farrell, 604 Michigan. And I practiced emergency medicine for over 45 years, both here in Petoskey and in level 1 trauma centers. Granted, accidents are rare in the environment that you're talking about. However, I've seen the rare accidents both here in town as well as in other locations. I'm new to the issue in a number of respects, but I happened to read the memo from your Director of Public Safety, and I agree with his memo. It was well said. He looked at things from a very broad perspective. He appreciated the fact that there are multiple perspectives on utilization of the Greenway, Pennsylvania Park. However, I'm one of those people who really would appreciate not having any risk for people my age now, kids, moms with baby carriages, people walking their dogs. And so I'm looking for direction. I think this is an issue that obviously you're sinking your teeth into as far as trying to find alternatives to that one little part of the world where you're trying to get from point A to point B. However, my perspective is that when you don't have to have risk, why do it? So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wish to speak? Sir.
My glasses so I can read my chicken scratch. My name is Fred Lederbach, and I live in the 3rd Ward. I've been here 39 years and old enough to have children who had bike licenses. Back then, it was encouraged in case someone ripped your bike off, and it actually worked for us one time. Somebody found a bike in the river that was ours, and the license led to a police officer calling, and we retrieved our bike. So. All right. I'd like to start my talks by thanking you guys for your service. Again, we are in an environment nationwide where we hear things about certain leaders telling our NATO partners that not only are our elections rigged, but now our courts are rigged. And that just feeds a very cynical, very dangerous atmosphere. So I thank you guys for your time. as well as our employees, Shane and Ms. Beck. We should not take our democracy for granted and our ability to do this and speak our mind. So my take on this is, and I haven't been that involved. I did go to the Parks and Rec meeting, and I did go to the ward meeting. I did not go to the city convention, so I hear that was a lively discussion, and I kind of regret that I missed it. But my take is that I think everybody agrees that we shouldn't have bikes in front of storefronts, including Park Avenue, even though you've been violating that. I think the Greenway, in my mind, the Greenway and the rail trail is from Bayview all the way to Curtis Field. And I thought about, I wrote Ms. Demore a note, and I thought she's probably thinking I'm crazy. But if we continue from, was it Emmett Street, where we plan to do between the new apartments over to Washington by the gold mine, then you've got the little pothole road, Clarion, it's not Clarion, what road is that? Buckley? Buckley. And that's a nice little bike trail that I think if we go back and read the 215 plan, that they're planning to, you know, make that very bike friendly with marks, and I forget what the name of those, what are those called? Those little triangle things in the road. But anyway, then you get into the new apartments, and we got a really nice wide sidewalk there already. And so that is the vision. That's what I encourage our council to envision, is a rail trail from Bayview all the way to the old football stadium. And Mr. Wilmot brought up the fact that we still have rails in the park and we don't have a trail there. And I'm cringing, Lindsay, because I was hoping you'd say, yes, yes, we need to go around the Blue Star Monument. I ride my bike there all the time. Never, ever, ever have had any sort of incident. Have I had to slow down? Yes. Have I had to actually stop and put my foot down once in a while? Yes. But never, ever had any sort of scared, dangerous incident. And so my question for the good doctor and for my friend John, now that I'm over 65, Mayor John, I'm elderly. Are you concerned about me? Because if you don't let me ride my bike through Pennsylvania Park, guess what I'm gonna do? I am not gonna walk the bike. Our public safety officer said that it's not much of an ask to walk my bike through Pennsylvania. The Mayor John said that tonight too. That is too much of an ask. If I decide to walk downtown to the bank or the concert in the park, I will walk. But if I'm gonna ride my bike, I'm gonna ride my bike, and I'm gonna ride it where I can. And if it's illegal and I'm gonna get fined by going through Pennsylvania Park, then I'm gonna ride on the road. And what's more dangerous, Doc? A bike bumping into somebody walking on the trail, or a car smashing into a bicycle? There's thousands of fatalities every year in this nation from bicyclists getting hit by cars. And if I can't ride my bike from Mitchell Street to Lake Street around the Blue Star Memorial, I'm on the roads and I'm being put at risk by my city council. And guess what else? There's a whole bunch of automobile drivers cussing and mad and honking their horns at me and screaming, "Get off the road!" Happens all the time. Happens all the time. So what I would encourage the council to do is pass this ordinance, but not affect the Greenway, including Lake to Mitchell Street. That, in my mind, is part of the Greenway, the bike trail, the multi-use trail. We have not ripped up the train tracks and put that through. So the only other thing we have then that's not on storefronts is the path by the Blue Star Memorial. And I marched it out the other day. It's 8 feet wide. I think Mr. Klingenschmidt said it's only 7 feet along the bushes from Lake to Bay. And I believe that. I believe that's a little more narrow through there. It's interesting, when I marched a week or two ago, it seemed narrower by the Blue Star Memorial just because the hostas have grown so much. But that's very doable, and it's very safe. Now, there's times Art in the Park's coming up. I'm not gonna ride my bike through an Art in the Park. I mean, we're talking about common sense here a lot. And I think that's what Tina was talking about is, you know, laws are not always enforced. But if we codify this, and if we say no bikes in Pennsylvania Park, no bike riding. Yeah, we can walk it through, but we're saying no bike riding. We're saying bikes are a bad thing. We shouldn't be biking, that we're not a bicycle-friendly town. We're not a trail town. We're a couch potato town. I think it's a horrible message to send. I think it's a bad, bad decision. I think we have
We're
to.
at 6.5 minutes.
Okay, John, thank you. So I'll wrap up. Let me see what else I wanted to say. The last thing that Mr. Nucktrup said, and I hope we hold to that, is he's okay with doing this pending expert review. So I really encourage the council to not ban bicycle riding in Pennsylvania Park until we make a comprehensive plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to council at this time? Please step forward, one of you.
Good evening, Kate Marshall. I just wanted to clarify one thing. I talked to Chief Carr after that opinion came out, and he did say that the complaints that the cadets receive are from store owners and managers who have pedestrians walking in front of their stores. Those complaints did not come from anyone on the bike path or the greenway or the road that goes from the path that goes from Mitchell to Lake Street. So the complaints come from somewhere else. I just want to remind everybody, biking is good behavior. It gets kids off of their phones, off of screens. Kids, if you observe the park, ride down to the park. They ride through the park, they go get ice cream. Most of the year, there is nobody there. I have observed and filmed people crossing that whole greenway. A woman who had to be at least 60 years old, riding, I think from Bayview, on a bike with a cart, going to the downtown market on Friday. She went around the little memorial thing. There were some people quietly went around them. Nobody blinked. There was not a problem. So the state of chaos is not real. And if you want to protect yourself against risk, I would suggest let's not have any people. Because people drive cars on their phones, almost run over pedestrians. People cross, jaywalk in front of cars, almost get hurt. There are vans and trucks parked downtown, which makes it very difficult to go around. The problem is that it's busy and they're people. And the only way to not have that happen is to not have all of us here. So it's very clear to me that what we should do is create an environment where we share the space and celebrate that sharing. Thank you.
Thank you. More.
Emily Meyerson. Again, thank you. I know this has been a long time coming. It's been a year, I think, that you've been talking about this, so it's been a while. There's a couple things I just wanted to clarify. Mr. Councilman Wilmot talked about rails to trails. So rails to trails actually aren't just converting the rails to a trail, it's converting the rail corridor to a trail. So that's just rail trails all over the country. They're not necessarily on the actual rails themselves. So Pennsylvania, the entire system is a rail trail. Pennsylvania Park is a rail trail because it's part of the rail corridor. So that's one thing I just wanted to clarify. I also, for the record, I spoke at the ward convention as well as the city convention, but not here. I did FOIA for information for the safety. Mayor, can I bring these reports up or would you rather not? Yeah, sure, okay.
No problem. Thank you.
I just wanted to get this on the record because I think it's important. I FOIA'd for the last 10 years bicycle and pedestrian accidents in the city of Petoskey. There were 38 in total, 22 which were with bikes and 16 with pedestrians. Of the 22 bicyclist accidents, 3 were in the central business district and they were all bicyclists on the road. that were being hit. So none were at intersections with the Greenway, and none were in front of businesses. 4 were actually along the Wheelway in Bay Harbor at intersections, and one was at Magnus Park. So those intersections are always the most dangerous places on any trail systems. Of the 16 pedestrian accidents, 5 were in public parking lots, so I don't think those really count when we're looking at this kind of data. 11 were mostly pedestrians being hit while they were in crosswalks with turning vehicles. So none were hit by a bicycle and a pedestrian. 3 of those pedestrian accidents were again in the central business district, all at the Mitchell and Howard intersections. So I just think it's important to see that. I too talked to Director Carr, and his concerns were bicyclists in front of businesses, not along the Greenway. He felt that with accommodation, we could do that. I've listened a lot. I know it's a concern. When I talked a year ago in July, Pennsylvania Park is not ideal, and it never has been, but it is all we have. Getting off your bike to walk it for recreation, totally reasonable. For transportation, if you're someone like Olivia who's commuting, you're adding an extra 10 minutes to walk your bike those 2 blocks. That's not real. That's the kind of stuff we have to think about, bicyclists as transportation, not just as recreation. And that's what concerns me about this, is the precedent it's setting and it's starting. And I know it's not ideal, but it works. At the Recreation Committee, I know it's probably not in the minutes, I was there. They didn't want people speeding through Pennsylvania Park, but they felt the connection was important. And until we had another option, they needed to keep it open. And they even had someone talk about, like, it sounds funny that Blue Star Memorial is like a little traffic circle. It's a traffic calming mechanism. That's what you build in roads to slow roads down. I keep hearing about all these near misses, Councilman DeMoore talked about. There's near misses all the time in your car. Do those get reported? No. So this isn't about the near misses. It's about the actual accidents. And we don't have them. There's no proof on that upper part of the Greenway. And so I too encourage you to not ban that. Just interestingly enough, after I think the last meeting, I was riding along and I ran into Councilman DeMoore walking. And you know what? I slowed down. I was riding probably pretty slow anyways, because you're riding slow through there, because that's natural. And I rode up next to her and we had a conversation. She was walking and I was biking right through Pennsylvania Park, because you can do that most of the time. A lot of times it's congested. So I think some of the accommodation is speed limits, as well as signage. Signage that says bikers dismount when congested, because a lot of times, most of the time, is not congested. When it's congested, I ride through there all the time. Not all the time, some of the time. I'm a walker too. You know what? I've done the same thing. I've gotten off, I've gone around. It's like, oh, there's way too many people there. I go up and around. But I think there's ways to accommodate everyone. Oh, that was the last clarification. Shared use paths. All of our paths, the Wheelway, the Greenway, is shared use paths. That means bicyclists, pedestrians, and anyone that you're allowing on those that are non-motorized share together. So it's no different really than anywhere else. Pennsylvania Park and that section you're talking about between Bay and Lake Street, it's a shared use path. You share it. So I think that's something to think about. When it comes to the widths, it's another clarification for all of you. Right now, the Little Traverse Wheelway, the sidewalk in Bayview is 6 foot wide, and that serves as a multi-use shared use path. So 7 foot on that one block and 8 foot on another block, it does work, and it really does. I really encourage you. I know you've worked hard on this, and I want safety too. I want safety for our visitors, but I also want transportation for our residents. And I want to encourage people to bike to work and reduce their carbon footprint. And that's something that's really important to the city. And I think we should be encouraging bicycling, not discouraging it. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak to council? Ms. Mayor? Please.
Quick.
Jane Meridian. I agree wholeheartedly with what my bicycle compatriots have said. And just to kind of emphasize what Emily said too about safety, I think people who regularly bike and especially bike for transportation as along with recreation are very safety minded. And when I'm on my bike and I'm approaching Pennsylvania Park, sometimes it's early in the morning and there's not a soul around. And, you know, does it make sense to say no bikes? I can just cruise through there. If I'm there at another time of day where there's a few people, I go very, very slow. If it's a congested time of day or often in the summer, I will get off my bike and walk if I think it's the safest. So I think we need to use a lot of common sense here and really think about who we're serving and encourage bicycles in our community because that's part of what makes Petoskey such a great place. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Anyone else wish to speak? Ms. Walker.
Mayor, I have public comment from Jeff and Sandy Grantham. As we drove through Alanson yesterday, signs mounted on pavement on center line of Main Street, yield to pedestrians in crosswalk, Michigan state law. If it's state law, Petoskey owes it to pedestrians to post similar signs at crosswalk and to actually paint crosswalks on the pavement to comply with markings for the signage. And that has to deal with safety as well as crosswalks for pedestrians, but also in light of this bicycle ordinance that we're trying to pass. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moore.
So at the last meeting, I made a statement on the record, which is in the minutes, so I'm not going to repeat that. But I'm mentioning it just so folks know that perhaps weren't online last time. And also, as an aspect of that, I talked about crosswalks and the importance. And it was my understanding, not putting the city manager on the spot here, that we're moving forward to better designate crosswalks. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else, Mr. Knobtrop?
Yeah, the feedback today is pretty much consistent. All the emails, the ward convention, and was really interesting at the city convention that we got a lot of this kind of feedback. It was pretty good. I'm at a complete loss why my colleagues who represents Ward 1 and 2 don't appear to be willing to compromise on this a little bit to recognize the Greenway in some form. I'm just at a loss why you're not willing to do that pending getting the expert witness in here, expert witness, own word, the experts, consultants in here, that this is a reasonable compromise. And I'm not understanding why you're not willing to.
Mr. Moore.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to that because I'll tell you, I have really struggled with this. Really, really struggled with this. But for me, this section, absolutely correct. In the 2015 non-motorized trail, the portion from Bay to Lake Street was designated as part of the trail. For reasons I don't know, it was never built out to be part of the trail. I support going forward this revisit, and to me, that's a condition of what we're doing today, that there's consensus, I think, to go forward with revisiting the 2015 plan. But because it's not built out right now to be a trailway, there are bushes on one side, which are really adjacent to vehicles on the other side. There's plantings on the other side. So is it impossible that that be built out in that way? I don't think so, but it isn't right now. And while I heard the input of the DMB folks and the folks at Parks and Recreation, I've also heard the input of our Parks and Recs director and of our public safety chief. And respectfully, while I agree that the voices at Ward 1 and the city convention were largely folks like we've heard today, I have heard from many folks who are walkers, and the story they tell is different. It's not those of you here today. I have no worries about you crashing into people, but this is actually a concern for people, and they're not necessarily reporting it. And I've heard a lot of talk tonight about cooperative sharing of the spaces. What I hear from walkers is they really struggle to hear from bikers that it's too much to ask to walk 2 blocks downtown. So I appreciate what you're saying, that that's not bikers' practice, but from a walker's perspective, that's a hard thing to understand. And I will most respectfully say this, when folks say, if you adopt this, you're making me drive in the streets, I don't accept that. You're making a personal choice, and I respect that. If you wish to walk your bike, then you don't have to be in the streets. And again, I see this as a bridge action that we're taking now to a better place that more fully addresses all of these complex issues. But for now, I want a framework so that a bad actor, that there can be action taken and consequences for people who don't conduct themselves on bikes the way that those of you do. So I don't know, did I answer your question?
Sure.
Thank you.
Anyone else wants to speak? I'll go to Miss Beck, City Clerk for roll.
Wilmot,
Aye.
Demore,
Aye.
Walker,
Is there a motion on the table?
Yes, it's
To
move
full
this.
description.
Oh. No.
Nachtrag,
No.
Murphy.
Yes. Next is new business, adoption of the proposed resolution approving 2026 Winter Sports Park project. The City Manager Board.
Thank you, Mayor. So this moves forward from a previous discussion we had earlier this spring, identifying 4 items within Winter Sports Park that we thought we could do within the existing budget year, smaller items that we need to try to address. We were asked to put a list of small projects together. Our Parks Director went ahead and did that based on your feedback. This kind of memorializes that conversation with a resolution to give us proper direction.
It comes to about $62,200.
Yeah, that's right.
I believe, one of the most important things we can do is take care of what we have. Not always worry about what are you gonna build new, where are we going at the next step, what's the next best great thing. I think it's really important for us to also take care of and maintain what we have. And I believe that this addresses that issue with the Winter Sports Park. And I think it's a step forward to the maintenance and to the well-being. There's a safety issue there. It opens up the opportunity for us to do a new sloping at the Winter Sports Park, get a transformer out of there, get a mechanical towing building up on top that I think is a menace to the community. I know there's issues there. Public safety possibly has been involved. Also, I think the maintenance on the siding of this Winter Sports Park building, I think it's important to take care of, just like your home. You don't let the siding go bad because it just ends up getting worse and worse. So I think this is a step gap to take care of problems that we have that are obvious. And that's why I support moving forward with this. Financially, I guess I would have to ask the city manager how we can work this out to cover this. Ideas. Mr. Wilmar.
Well, I hate to be the one making all the motions tonight, but I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the proposed resolution approving these particular expenditures, and then further discussion.
Mr. Knobtrop, you give other people an opportunity to make a motion now. That would, I'd support that motion.
Thank you.
I think it's a great idea.
Ms. Demore.
So I respectfully disagree.
Oh, me too.
I do not disagree that item 4, cedar siding on the lodge is faded and some areas damaged. Absolutely. Anybody owns a house, you know, you gotta do these maintenance and upkeep. So I'm a yes on that. Last time we talked, I was on a no on the other 3. I revisited and I'm willing to go with number 1 to remove the existing rope tow mechanical buildings. Why am I a no on 3 and 4? We are going to have a citywide planning process regarding the winter sports park this fall. We have expended close to $40,000 on planning for the winter sports park. And this is proposing that we spend another $12,000 with the SE group for further type of planning. I think that's premature before we hear from community members. And I feel the same way about relocating the transformer. I feel like those are a part of a bigger planning process and that we're getting ahead of our skis, maybe pun intended. And that I would move forward the first and the last, but not the middle 2. Thank you.
Ms. Walker.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm gonna agree with Tina. I'm fine with, I should say, I agree with, mostly with Tina. So I agreed, and last time I spoke very frankly with Kendall about this at our last public meeting. So removing the existing tow rope mechanical buildings, absolutely. Since the storm, all of the tree debris has been aggregated in the pathway of the tow rope. So I totally get it. Let's get rid of the tow rope mechanical buildings, get rid of the tow rope, recycle the scrap, keep it moving. Removing and relocating the transformer located at the base of the rope tow, I was more of a maybe on that one. I also agree it segues into a larger master plan process. I am a firm no on the SE group at $12,200. And then the cedar siding, I'm totally in favor of. So of the 4, I would be okay with 3, definitely not number 3, but 3 of the 4 proposals there. So if you're gonna go for, as you've already put it on the table, that it's all or nothing, I guess you're gonna get a no vote from Tina and me.
Doesn't have to have a, it says consider approving the projects, and I guess I look at the word projects, meaning that we work out a agreement with us to make it work. Well,
The budget.
yes,
Is there a question there?
you have a question?
No.
A comment?
No. I can tell you that I don't see the same problems that my esteemed colleagues see with number 2 and number 3. I have constituents who are absolutely opposed to removing the tow building, that it should be rebuilt. But given the condition of, I think that that's kind of a silly perspective. It's going to be more cost effective to get rid of it and put something new there if we choose to do so than to try to restore what's currently there. I don't have any problem with relocating the transformer because ultimately it's going to need to be done anyway. And I don't have any problem with the SE group because that is specifically has to do with the sculpting of the slopes for safety. And that has not been done in any of the prior studies that have so far been funded by City Council. So I'd like to get that under our belt. I look forward to the public comment for all of the other improvements with Winter Sports Park. But the truth of the matter is, it's been years we've been talking about making improvements to Winter Sports Park, and it's time we get started. So that's my position. If there is if it's necessary to have a compromise and eliminate one of these, I'm open to the possibility, but I currently think that all four are perfectly appropriate.
Mr. Nantrop.
I think in government, we should be always willing to compromise, but it seems like my experience in this council, when it comes to these motions, there doesn't seem to be a lot of compromise. I agree with what Charlie said and the rationale of this, and it seems like we should be doing it. It's not that much money, and it seems reasonable for everything that you said and everything you've said, John. I mean, it just seems like we ought to do it. If someone's got a big, if it would be a 5-0 vote and we'd eliminate one thing, fine, let's do that too. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm okay with the compromise as well, but I just think we need to start moving forward on this maintenance of the property, maintenance for safety purposes, and I think we need to start moving forward on some of this because we're stuck. In the big picture, obviously, we were not ready to address that last fall when this thing came up, the winter sports park. Mr. Moore.
Well, respectfully, I don't think we're stuck. I think it was my colleague, Mr. Wilmot, that thought this whole issue of how to move forward, I'm not throwing you under the bus, this is fine, be sent to the Parks and Recs Commission for the recommendation. Their recommendation was that this be a part of the winter sports park and the master plan at large that's set to go forward in the fall. So let the plan go forward. I don't have any problem with sculpting the hill, but what are we sculpting it for? We haven't heard from constituents. Are we sculpting it for skiing? Are we sculpting it for sledding? I don't know. So I'm not opposed to this ultimately. I just don't think now's the time. Again, cedar siding on the lodge, go for it. We know that's problems got to be done. So
which of these are you're saying that of these four, what are you in favor of?
I'll go move forward 1 and 4. But if the 3 of you are happy to move for all of them, that's 3. Sure. You can do that as well.
Ms. Walker.
Thank you, Mayor. So where's the money coming from, first of all? So in our 2026 capital improvement plan, we have the Winter Sports Park rank at 2.9 million unfunded. Winter Sports Park lodging siding is actually part of our capital improvement plan for 2027 at $50,000. So here we have $10,000 for 2026. So that's kind of moving something up that we had otherwise budgeted. And also understanding that capital improvement plans change from year to year to year, and we update them in the current year. And we'll be going through our capital improvement plan for 2027 in August of this year, as we always do. So the money's allotted, and I guess there is no, where is the money coming from question or answers here. So is it coming out of reserves or general fund or, seeing that Parks and Recreation usually consumes the lion's share of the general fund budget? I would wonder if that'll be an amendment to the budget at the end of the year or something of that nature. So where the money is coming from is absolutely our responsibility in terms of our fiduciary responsibilities. So I too would approve number 1 and number 4 and maybe hold at bay 2 and 3. But definitely the consultant, it feels like a cognitive disconnect once again about a master plan that's happening this fall. Let's do everything in unison. A really good example of something that passes because it's well thought out and it's publicly documented is the skate park. Awesome job. Let's do every project like the skate park project.
Mr. Nantrop, do you wish to weigh in any more on this, on what you have opinions on?
I'm listening. No, nothing more.
You're supporting what?
I believe there's a motion made and seconded.
And now
We're not hearing anything.
We're having discussion on.
I'm listening to both Tina and Lindsay, and, I think they make good points, but I'm still comfortable. I have a suspicion that we're gonna be fine with the funding of this. I have a suspicion that we're probably gonna have a surplus. That just, as I read the numbers on this year, I don't think we have a money issue for this year's money. So I'm still okay to go forward with all of it.
Mr. Wilmot,
Would your second hold if I modified the motion to just be 1 and 4?
Just 1 and 4?
Just 1 and 4.
See, I feel 2 is probably, if there was 1 going to be deleted, I'm okay with 3, but I think from what I understood before, 2 needs to be done, and there was some kind of a safety issue with that. So that was why I thought 2 was kind of important to do.
I support the same thing as leaving out number 3. I'm fine if you,
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to modify my motion.
please.
I'd like to withdraw my previous motion, and I'd like to restate my motion as being approval of numbers 1, 2, and 4 on this agenda as a resolution.
There's some minimal change that we can improve it, or do we need to send it to the next meeting? It's just a resolution.
It's a resolution. I would technically, but it's probably a motion to amend the motion to approve the resolution with just 1, 2, and 4, and then you'll need a second on that.
That, what she said.
And I
Motion from Mr. Wilmot, a second from,
I support I support the amended motion.
okay, which leaves out.
No, no, so what you have now, I know I'm getting a little Robert's rulesy here. You have a motion to amend the motion, so you're gonna have a vote just on the motion to amend the motion, which means it's not on the substance of it, but just, is that going to be the motion that's on the table for a vote? So it doesn't mean you have to vote yes on the ultimate motion, but are we going to allow it, either vote on it or just unanimous consent that we're good with the motion going forward as 1, 2, and 4?
Thank you.
Are you looking for me to say something? I second that, I think. I second it.
It's just a motion to amend the motion.
Correct.
That's the first thing we're gonna do. Yeah.
Great.
Ms. Beck.
Wilmot,
Aye.
Naktrab,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Murphy.
So now you have a motion on the table.
Do I need to restate the motion now?
Yes.
I would like to move that.
It's already moved, sorry. It's on the table, you're just restating it? Okay,
I'm restating the motion.
great, sorry.
And the motion that I'm restating is to include points number 1, 2, and 4 of this memo in the resolution. And that's my motion.
Do I have a second?
You have a second.
I have a motion from Mr. Wilmot, a second from Mr. Nantrab for 1, 2, and 4 of the list, which excludes the SE group specialists being involved in measurements, in estimates. The public wish to weigh in on this at all? Sir.
Mark Tarquini, 1040 Hoffman Street again. Since I'm here still, I've shared my thoughts with Winter Sports Park with Charlie by email several times, but Mr. Murphy, I support that we do things to maintain what we have there, like the siding, definitely important. Long-term vision for Winter Sports Park, I do have reservations with, especially around the sustainability of Winter Sports Park. If we start adding tons of stuff into it, it would be cool to have skiing there someday. Again, yes, but I also think that Nubs Knob, Boyne, they have world-class beginner areas that are already absolutely free. I don't think you can beat their magic carpet. So things like that, I have reservations. I'm curious, when the consultants come in again. I mean, I filled out all the surveys that we had for Winter Sports Park, open house, stuff like that too. So anyway, yes, for maintaining what we have and keeping it nice and shiny, but big ticket stuff like Ms. Walker was saying, that stuff makes me nervous about how we're gonna maintain it, fund it long-term. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to council at this time? I go to Ms. Beck for roll.
Wilmot,
Aye.
Naktrab,
Aye.
Demore,
No.
sorry, Walker
Aye.
and Murphy.
Yes, aye. Motion passes 4-1. Now it's the adoption of a proposed resolution authorizing the contract with Technologies LLC of St. Louis, Missouri for advanced metering infrastructure. Jason, come on down.
I think it's not gonna help.
That's not gonna help. So, I don't want to. I don't think it's gonna work.
All right, so what you have in front of you is a proposal or a agenda memo to authorize city staff to move forward with the contract with Declara on our advanced meter infrastructure. So I'll just gonna hit some highlights and provide a little more detail on the background. Background for 2026, we had $800,000 set aside to start this as a pilot. In the unfunded category in our CIP, we had $3.6 million set aside. We've been working with PSC, a consultant that's an expert in this. They've been great to work with. As you probably read through the agenda, they've taken us through a lengthy process to select a vendor. And through that process, we've looked at our operations and how does AMI help us? What does it do for us as far as improvements with our utility operations, customer interaction? So what we have in front of us is an aging infrastructure on our water and electric meters. On our electric meter side, we have approximately 8,500 electric meters out in our service territory. The average age is 30 years. The average lifespan on an electric meter is 15 to 20 years. Many of I was asking our electric supervisor, of our meters, we have two types of meters. There's an analog, so mechanical, gear-driven. Those styles that we have in our system have a dial with a needle that are sometimes extremely difficult to read, even for our most experienced meter readers. Those over time can slow down. And what that means is we're undercharging. Of that, 59% of our electric meters exceed 15 years, and the average age of those 59% is 42 years. So we have some old electric meters out there. On the water side, we're looking a little better. Of the approximately 4,000 meters, they have an average age of 15 years. 15% of those exceed the age of 15 years, and that average life is 42 years. Those meters, so on our electric side, this project would replace all of our electric meters. On the water side, about 85% of our meters could be modified to incorporate into this AMI infrastructure. The 15%, about 600 meters, would need to be replaced. AMI benefits, so on the customer side, we're gonna get more accurate reads. Oftentimes, and it doesn't happen a lot, but our readers, especially in the wintertime, can't get to some houses. And so they're estimated. The reads are estimated based on past usage. That'll get eliminated. So all the reading will happen computerized right here from City Hall, and no more estimating. That gives the customer the ability to interact with their utility use. And this kind of goes along with our sustainability side of it. And it gives us, as the utility, the ability to set up in the future to have our rates based on time of use. And again, that is to help us with our renewable and sustainability goals. What time of use is that we have rate structure that would go through a rate study and be based on peaks and demands. That structure would be tailored. So at your peaks, more expensive to use. So then your customers can adjust their usage based on a time of day, based on trying to lower their utility bill. Therefore, as a power company, as a power utility, we buy a base load. But like example, like last week, we peaked at about 2.4 megawatts on, I think it was either January 30th or July 1st. So that's about 7 to 8 megawatts more than our average usage. When we have those instances, we're paying a premium for that power. Because we have a base load, but then when we peak, we're paying for peaking.
What is our base load?
On an average day, I look back, it's about 13 megawatts a day. Yeah. So those are some of the benefits. I could take you through the proposal if you have questions as far as how we selected Aclara. I went through it in detail there. When we get to the funding side of it, it's a daunting, when you look at those numbers, right? So our ultimate project overall, over the span of 2026 and 2027 is $4.24 million. Originally, when we were looking at this, since about 2024, when this was in the CIP, we were looking at a larger drawn out process, probably over a 3-year period of time. In negotiating with Aclara, they had said, we can save you $400,000 if we just get this done with a pilot and then move right into full implementation within a year. That also has a benefit to the city, because then we're not operating 2 different systems on the billing side. Our meter readers wouldn't be reading partial meters throughout the city. We could knock it out and get it done. On the business side of it, as far as what does that look like for our current meter readers and our operations? So there's 3 components that I just highlighted real quick that involve a significant amount of our time. On the meter reading side, we staff it anywhere from 2 to 3 people a month to go read meters, and those are utilized from our water, wastewater staff. It takes anywhere from 2 weeks to 2.5 weeks, depending on staffing. And that's about $105,000 a year in wages. Meter shutoffs. Meter shutoffs would happen with AMI at the office here, City Hall. Remote disconnects and reconnects, so when we wouldn't have to send people out. So right now, when we do that on a monthly basis, it takes our staff about 12 hours to do that. That's shutting off and then reinstalling those meters. That's about $4,500 or $45,000 a year in wages. And then oftentimes when people move out or properties change hands, you do a final read on the meters, get the final numbers, and then the new customer moves in. That is time consuming as well. We have about, between our water and electric staff, an hour a day, probably every day of the week. So that equates out to about $35,000 a year. In all, in staffing, I would say about $185,000 a year just in staffing that would be saved with this AMI project. Now, what do you say, what am I going to do with that staffing? Can we cut costs there? Well, I'm going to say no. I can utilize those staff in other ways to help maintain our assets that we have. We do have aging infrastructure, as we've been talking about. That aging infrastructure takes staff to maintain it. We just had an instance out towards Bay Harbor on our force main this last weekend or 2 weekends ago. So we have to replace bolts on valves and replace seals, maintain our lift stations. Not that we're not doing that now, but as things get older, it's going to take more staff to do that. On our electric side, there's always the maintenance of the undergrounding, electric lights and all that. So, that staff can be utilized to keeps ourselves at the high level of service that we're trying to achieve. With that, I'm open to questions.
Mr. Wilmot.
So what would the cost be to replace the aging meters as a contrast to the the $4 million roughly of going with AMI? That's my first question. In other words, we're going to have to replace meters. If I understood you correctly, the majority of the electric meters and at least 15% of the water meters or whatever.
Correct.
vice versa.
Yep.
The question is, what is that cost if we don't go with AMI versus the AMI number?
I don't have that number in front of me. I mean, part of the AMI project is replacing the electric meters like we talked about and the oldest, so that cost is incorporated in that. And the AMI project gives us the ability to do things remotely
Absolutely.
and not send people out. So I don't have those numbers, but,
But it's fair to assume that there's a baseline cost that is being replaced with the $4 million expenditure on AMI.
correct. Yep.
Not just staff time that could be redeployed.
Yep, exactly.
Understood.
Yep.
I have a technical question, though. In the jurisdictions where I previously lived, the AMI was conducted with mobile units roving the streets and reading via Bluetooth. But you indicate that this will be monitored exclusively here at City Hall. Using what technology?
Radio frequency. So there's two different main types of technology. There's a mesh technology, which bounces a signal from meter to meter to meter, and then it talks back to the central hub. We have a unique system where we have water only utility coverage area. We have electric only. For the water meters to work, it relies on the electric meter. So we're like in Bay Harbor, we don't have electric out there. We would not be able to use that mesh technology. So what the Aclara vendor has proposed and the other three that had proposed on our project is radio frequency. So we would have towers on existing facilities. So the Townsend Tower out by Bay Harbor, our water tank up on the hill, Lockwood tank. There's going to be radio frequency, components that would help communicate with all those meters back to the central hub. So within our boundary of service area, there's about 14 towers that would need or on existing facilities to be installed.
Do we provide water to the, like, other places that we provide water? How are they gonna be handled?
Like Bayview?
We don't do metering at Bayview, do we?
We read meters twice a year out there. That's on the electric side. So water side, they're a bulk customer of ours on water.
Right.
So the meters on Arlington Avenue, we sell and we bill on a monthly basis based on that single meter providing water to Bayview. So we do not go to house and read for water,
So you-
only electric.
Electric, you read that.
Right, currently twice a year.
Do you charge interest for the time that goes from 6 months that we're not getting paid then? I mean, if you have me on a bill and I pay monthly and I'm late, is there a fee added to it?
If you're late, yes. I believe finance has that set up. There's,
So should we give Bayview water for 6 months and then bill them for that?
I'd have to ask Audrey. That's an Audrey question. I'm not sure on all those specifics, John.
Just curious,
But I believe on the water side, because it's a single meter, it's a monthly bill to them on the water. The electric twice a year, like I said, with AMI, we could do that on a monthly basis.
you could with the new
Yep,
change.
Yep. There's a lot of options when we go to this AMI. So it gives, it's very,
I mean, if you do it on
gives-
a monthly basis, we're gonna end up making more money, basically, considering what's our 448 houses, or you've got almost 500 units using water.
I don't know if making more money is the right term, but you're gonna see that revenue roll in faster. Yeah.
Mr. Walker.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Jason. I appreciate the information. So going back to our capital improvement plan, we did have phase one of the AMI. So many acronyms. AMI is area median income. No, it's not. It's advanced metering infrastructure. So $400,000 for both the electric and the water. And then if we go forward, it's not until 2032 that we have budgeted for the phase 2 of advanced metering infrastructure. And the projected amount for that was only combined 900,000 and 900,000 for water and electrical. So that would be 1.8 million. Oh, and then, of course, I'm sorry. So there's 1.8 plus 1.8 is the 3.6 million that was budgeted, but not until 2032. So if it's under projects lacking funding category, can you tell me, like, with the electric fund, what's the fund balance of unrestricted funds in the electric fund balance as well as the water fund balance?
Yep.
Okay, so you got plenty of money to
And-
cover the cost of the 3.
Whether it's, I don't know the specifics on the unrestricted, but correct me if I'm wrong, Shane, but that's what Audrey had told us earlier.
9.5.
9.5 million of unrestricted funds in both
Total.
total.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got enough money to technically pay for this project, even though it says under the CEP, under projects lacking funding category, but you do have funds that you could potentially, if you wanted to do it this year, it would come out of that.
Yeah, and just to take you back on that CIP, this says 2032, but that is just our category of,
No, we just we kick
Yeah.
the can down the
So
road.
that
I
didn't
get
mean it was gonna
The
necessarily-
DPW building's down here too for 21 million. That's my dream of my dreams. So I know
didn't necessarily mean it was gonna happen in that specific year, but yeah.
Okay, so I guess my question is then, now we're on the cusp, we just authorized, a rate study. And we approved that at city council, and I understand that we're undergoing a rate study right now. Are we making a case for increasing our rates by pushing this forward into 2026 or 2027? Are we building a case for saying a rate study? Because like, we had DTE here today, and they got their rate studies approved through the MPSC as well as the other utility companies, like no problem on the state level. They passed that right along to their customers.
Mhm.
So it's the customer that bears the burden of the cost increase. And so for our city, if we're doing a rate study right now, we're hopefully, I'm assuming, we're positioning ourselves to increase the rates of our utilities, water, sewer, and electrical. And this kind of makes a case for why we want to do that.
I'm not gonna use AMI as a case to why we need a rate increase or a rate study. Right now, Audrey's finance is telling us that we can afford this project with funds that we have available within our budgeting process and then fund balance. Costs are increasing every day. We all know that, right? So the cost to replace water main and sewer and put our electric underground, replace transformers, upgrade our substation to make sure we can provide the, good sound quality power. They keep going up. And so we can't provide that level of service without a rate increase at some point. And it's been a while. I don't know specific years, but a number of years since we've been kind of flatlined for at least 3 or 4 years.
I have another.
So our rate makers will take us through that process. We're feeding them the financials, looking at what is our capital improvements projects, and then they'll plug those in and we'll be able to present to you, what that impact will look like.
I have another part of the question. Thank you, Mayor. So I guess then my next question is if there's enough in the unrestricted reserves of $9.5 million combined, then that would deplete the budget only by the general reserve by like a third. And does our financial team feel comfortable with that? Is that something that the city's okay with, depleting it by a third? Because I remember when we talked about this with general funds in terms of the winter sports park, and it was going to do that pavilion, it was going to be like 2.8 million. And that would take us down by half of the unrestricted funds that we had in that budget. And so I guess I also want to know, where is our partners of Michigan Public Power Association, and in terms of economies of scale for AMI, are other utilities doing the same thing? And do they have a preferred vendor, or is there any way that we can get an economy of scale of benefit of savings by going with a certain AMI company that would be recommended by our overall group of 17 municipal power associations?
Yeah, the majority of MPPA members are already have AMI implemented in their utilities. We did attempt to go for grants, but I think it was back in 23. Just looking back through my predecessor's information on the AMI project. And there was a number of municipalities that were looking at going together, economies of scale, but that did not move through. So since then, everybody's kind of done their own thing. So Charlevoix's a year or two ahead of us. Niles is similar to us. They're working with Aclara, and they're about a year and a half ahead of us as well. So I'm picking on those because they're similar to us in size, and they're using Aclara, and they're, right around our same time frame as far as implementation. So, but some of the larger ones in our MPPA membership are already AMI.
And is Traverse City Light and Power, did they use the same entity?
I don't know for sure on Traverse City.
Thank you for your answering my question.
I just want to expound on a couple of your other questions, comments. So you said, you're talking about Winter Sports Park. That's out of the general fund. When we're talking about fund balance, it's specific to electric,
This is electric.
water, and wastewater.
I
So
realize that. Yes, thank you.
The total, the electric and the sewer comes to that.
Shane,
I don't know specific. Tina, if you got a number, throw it out.
Right.
Yeah.
I talked
Let's get
Oh,
through it.
you got to talk to Audrey.
I talked to Audrey, so I'm just gonna put on the record that this is my best notes from Audrey. Water sewer, water fund sewer retained earnings, 10.6 million now. It'll be 9.5 million by the end of the year. Electric fund, approximately the same, 10.5 million now, and approximately at the end of the year, 9.5 million.
So 18 or so, 19 full.
Yeah, again, I
Between the
defer to
two.
Audrey, those are
That's-
my notes that I took.
that's my understanding, Tina. Between the two utilities, we have about 18 million estimated at the end of the year.
The nice thing about doing this within this structure is we wouldn't have to bake this into any sort of rate structure going forward. We have the liquidity to do this now. We don't have to, a lot of times when you have something of this magnitude, you have to build it into your rate structure. I think we are positioned in a way that whether it's maturing investments that we can take advantage of that help us become a little more liquid, we can address this right now. And we do want to, however, just be aware that street projects, reconstructs involve electric, involve utilities. So those are very expensive projects, and you've seen those budgets. You know what that looks like. You know what Howard Street looked like. So we certainly want to make sure that we have resources available to continue to do streets, because we all know we have street concerns, right? I mean, we know that and see that. And so we want to make sure that we are healthy and can do projects going forward. And we certainly think we can. Otherwise, we wouldn't recommend moving in this direction right now. I think we have a mechanism in front of you that allows us to move forward now versus stretching it out over several years. And I think that's our recommendation.
No, I just want to say, point of clarification for people who may be listening or listen later. When you say this doesn't need to be built into the rate study, tell me if I'm right on the translation. It means that this project as a finite project would not impact user costs. It wouldn't make their bills go up.
Right.
Because we're paying for this from.
It's a standalone project, so it wouldn't be built into a multi-rate tier system.
Right. Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Norcross.
Jason, thanks for the explanation. I generally really support this. Just a couple questions on the cost side of things.
Yep.
If I hear what not on the cost, the billing side, if I hear what you said is one, we're probably under billing both water and electric.
More specifically on the electric side, and that's just going off industry experience. I don't know what our system is.
The other thing I thought you said, and maybe I misunderstood it, is that we are then able to, during the peak demand time, we can isolate that. And then are you saying that we would then be billing people for their premium usage?
We can. So this sets us up for time of use rates. Right now, our current rate study is looking at the normal rates that we would normally charge, not a time of use.
So are you saying that we do have in our existing rate structure, the ability to charge it on peak demand, or we'd have to change everything all around?
We would have to implement a new rate structure to do that. And right now, we're not intending to do that with this new rate structure and presenting something to council.
We
But
would
for the
have to
future,
do it if we wanted.
we have the data to do that. It sets us up nicely for the future. It also sets us up for people who like to plug, EV chargers. That puts a huge demand on our system. It helps with solar, the behind the meter, power generation apparatuses. It helps us track those, and it gives it tracks a lot of electric and water data that customers can then use to analyze their bills.
And it goes
and-
right
and
down to the
finite.
individual customer level.
Goes down to yes.
My
It does
second-
not, there's a myth out there that it's smart, that it's watching your every moves. It is not. I mean, the only way for you to do that is you as a customer engage with what we have a third party to do, like a home energy analysis of your house. You have to give them that information in order to finite, like, is it your water heater that's generating this much power or usage of this much power? It's just gonna give the customer an idea of, like, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when we had the highest heat index of the day, your AC was running, so you saw a huge spike in your usage. Or you got home at night, you're running the dishwasher, you're doing laundry, all these things that consume power, customers are gonna be able to see that, and then you could tailor your usage based on that.
But city, it'll be up to the council if we want to move forward and say, peak hours are here to here, and you're gonna pay more than this.
And that would go through a whole, correct, but we have the infrastructure to do that, and that would go through a rate-making process.
No, right, no.
It has the capability.
Read the data.
Okay. Mr. Nabi.
My second question was on the wage savings. You went through a process of saying here's going to be a lot of labor savings. And what we're really going to do is shift it to other areas. So I guess I'd like to just push that back a little bit. Do we have overtime that we could save? Or is there going to be any labor savings?
We do have overtime, especially on our water wastewater. Comes time down to like winterization of hydrants and flowing hydrants. Oftentimes we have a spike in overtime because we have 2 of those staff out meter reading for 2 weeks of the month, 12 months out of the year. So that frees up that staff equivalent to put them out and help manage our assets that we.
So it would seem to me that we would have a pickup of real efficiency of labor. And we ought to be able to save some or all of that overtime.
Overtime.
You're talking about a lot of savings of labor.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mr. Wilmot.
Yeah, just a couple of references from my own personal history. The place that I lived for 30 years, they did AMI several decades ago. And that has helped them meet their sustainability goals because they did institute peak load pricing in their matrix. And that brought the attention of peak load, the importance of peak load to the attention of the public. And it really helped with the overall conservation effort. That was number one. And number two is the more recent place that I lived before here has instituted AMI. And they actually instituted a charge for changing the instrument on everyone's house. And that helped mitigate the cost of the installation of the system. In this case, it doesn't appear that Petoskey needs to do that, but it's just a consideration. Thank you.
Ms. Demore.
Would ultimately users be able to access that information in real time about peak times or like by going online or on an app or?
Yes, so with this proposal is a customer portal side of it. So yes, tied to our billing, they would be able to see, log in and under their account and see a graph that shows usage, and they could, adjust dates, look at past usage over the last, say, year or 2 years. Whatever data we have that meter's gathering, they can be able to see that and analyze it.
Yeah. And the time for the rollout of this, like if we were to move forward with this, when would it be in place?
If
From a
you,
user
if
perspective?
you authorize me to sign this agreement today, tomorrow, I have full intentions of writing a PO to engage to start this process. By the end of December of this year, our pilot project will be complete. We'll immediately roll into full implementation that will be complete by December of 2027.
Okay. And as far as references, if you mentioned this, I'm sorry I didn't hear it. Have you, reached out to other folks who've used this provider to kind of see what their experience has been?
Yeah, so that was part of our selection process, is working with PSE and then talking with City of Charlevoix that uses Aclara as well, and then Niles. But that's why I brought those up, that they're using that vendor as well. So very good experiences, and part of the selection process was how well did they interact and how well can we grow with them in the future. So we feel that this vendor, Aclara, is going to be very easy to grow with as technology changes, because it is changing every day. They're trying to improve meters and try to improve the interaction capabilities of the softwares.
And so I see too that for this you use a score system. And so usually we see numbers on bid amounts, the cost. And I'm guessing that's baked into these scores.
It is.
But can you give us some sense of just cost-wise? Was Aclara the least expensive, medium?
Aclara was not the least expensive. They're actually second in the pricing.
Second?
I believe, yeah, second. I believe it ranked, Aetna, I think, was lowest, then Aclara. I'm sorry, Eaton was lowest, Aclara, Aetna, and Honeywell.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Jim. I would be happy to make the motion to authorize the city to proceed with this proposal.
Do I have a second?
I support.
A motion from Mr. Knapcraft, a second from Mr. Wilmot. Other discussions, council? Ms. DeMore.
Well, I'll only say that overall, I really support this, but I feel like it's been a lot to absorb in a really short period of time. And I think I want to move forward with it, but I think it would be helpful for me to have a little more time. But those are my thoughts right now.
Ms. Walker.
I feel like my questions I was a little bit hesitant as well going over the information, but I feel like Jason's done a really good job in the evolution of this conversation about where the money would come from in terms of the unrestricted balance in both the water fund as well as the electric fund. So I feel like we have the information pretty much that we need. And I am still obviously very invested in finding out about our meter reading or our meter rate study that's ongoing. And then I know that at some point, that company that we hired or contracted to do that will come back to us and make a proposal to what that could look like in the future in terms of raising our rates. And I have noted just on my own that the sewer is the most expensive part of my utility bill every month. And there's electric I can do something about, but water and sewer, because sewer is connected to your water usage, I'm still at I can't figure out how to reduce my water bill. And if I had more autonomy to look at compared what I was consuming in February versus August when my son was home from college, that would kind of guide me closer. So I can appreciate the use of this advanced technology for this. So thank you so much for your time.
City Attorney, would you please weigh in on this?
I just wanted to clarify, the motion, as I heard it, was to go forward with the proposal. I just want to be clear, is the motion intended to approve the resolution that's in the packet?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Moore?
I just have another question too. It mentions that there's additional costs not included with this contract, engineering, portions of AMI, communication infrastructure, water meter replacements, and project contingencies. And so the plans for, so this contract's at 3.6 and those total project costs are 4.24. So how would the balance of that funding, how would the balance of that be funded? Those additional.
We looked at it as the overall, the 4.24 million, and how are we going to fund that? So we we looked at it as a project whole. So Aclara is part of that process. And so, you know, the funding is just what we talked about tonight, using fund balance, adjusting capital improvements projects, priorities, and shuffling things to make this a priority for 2027.
So the 4.24 would all come from retained earnings?
No. No,
Okay.
portion of that. So
3.6 would come from retained earnings.
I'm looking at it as a project whole. So we're adjusting, right now we're running through the CIP process. I'm working on adjusting projects that we had originally last year slated in 27, and we're going to push a few of those out. I talked to our electric supervisor and our engineers on, for example, we had a substation improvements. It's not dire right now. And our substation is fine. There's no, it's not critical that that project happens next year. So we're going to push that out. There's transformer bushing replacement, there's substation maintenance. Those are all going to get pushed out. Petoskey Circuit Conversion 6 on our Sheridan Street. That was a project that we put in 2027 in anticipation that we may do something with the DPW building. That's not critical that that happens next year, so I'm going to push that out. That's in the magnitude of $260,000. So by shuffling plan, projects in the CIP out
Okay.
to future, that frees up some money there.
Will doing that ultimately cost the consumers more on their bill? With this rate study, is that gonna take in the rate study? Is that gonna take in that part of it to say, well,
They're looking at what do we typically allocate per year on our projects. So I think Audrey told me there's like anywhere from $1 million to $1.5 million, depending on the year. So they look at what have we been currently putting in? They're looking at cost of inflation and what is our materials, the cost of wire and
et cetera.
transformer ever since 2021, say. Some of them have doubled in cost. So those have
Rate
never
study
been.
will include some of that.
That has to be included in it because those costs for materials have never been incorporated into the rates right now.
It's just not the electric that our rate study is looking at.
It's
It is
looking at water and sewer.
Future capital improvement plan.
Correct.
For the electric and water.
Yep.
So I'm still confused and I apologize. So maybe one of my colleagues can help me. This resolution, we're approving 3.6 million? Or are we also approving these additional costs estimated with the 3.6 to be 4.24? What is it that we're doing? This is paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, paragraph 8 of the resolution, where the number 4.24 appears.
I could clear, you're authorizing us to execute a contract with Aclara for 3.6. We will make budgetary adjustments, as Jason just mentioned, within the CIP to make up that other project cost.
Okay.
We're dealing with the 3.6 with Aclara.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else, council? Does the public wish to weigh in on this?
Yeah.
Sir, you have to come to the Podium, your name?
Mark Tarquini, final comment. I've been waiting for smart meters. I'm probably one of the few. Just to confirm, I will be able to have like an app on my phone so I can watch my usage live.
Yes.
Perfect. I'm not really a big fan, I know it's not on the thing tonight, but I'm not really a big fan of the time of use change. I'm really not. Part of the reason is, what if I'm one of those people that desperately needs that air conditioning on the extra hot day because my health is dependent on it, and now my rate's gonna go up because of something. I know it's a tiny percentage, but that concept bugs me. My brother lives in Grand Rapids, he has to deal with it. But I'm excited for the project. If you're looking for a pilot house, I'm willing to be one. Thank you. Have a good night.
I'm looking to see I'm looking to see, Mark, I'm looking to see what is that cost for the higher piece of energy, the prime time stuff.
Down the road.
Well, we will have a discussion on that, right? Yes.
Yeah, a lot of factors need to go into looking at that. We haven't even looked at
That's-
that,
that's
so
the
that's
way-
not on the table. Yeah, that's not on the table today.
All right, have a motion. Nobody online. I go to Ms. Beck for roll.
Naktrab,
Aye.
Wilmot,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
and Murphy.
Aye, passes 5-0. Next, we've got the three pieces for the mural and.
No, we're gonna,
Who said?
we actually need to table the 3 mural. Our city attorney came in a little early. We had an election commission meeting at 4, and when we were going through the agenda, looking at the packet, we found some things in the policy that we would like to address before it's ready for prime time. So we would ask that we table those 3 mural items and allow the city attorney a little deeper dive into policy.
It's not that we want to get out of here.
No.
No, I made that recommendation before the meeting started.
That too. So items
Now we
B,
go to the-
C, and D.
Now we go, so I need a motion.
Yeah.
To table.
I make a motion that items 8B, C, and D under new business on the agenda be tabled.
I'll second the motion, Mayor.
Motion from Ms. Demore, second from Ms. Walker. Any discussion? I go to Ms. Beck for roll.
Moore,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Wilmot,
Aye.
Naktrab,
Aye.
Murphy.
Okay.
Can we take a 5-minute break?
We're gonna be done in 5 minutes.
No break. No rest for
We can take a break if we need to, but this should go pretty quick.
Okay.
Just like the rest of it is.
Famous last word.
I was gonna say.
There's still people online.
First reading of proposed ordinance amending chapter 15 concerning short-term rentals. I turn it over to City Manager Horn.
So I'm gonna turn it over to our city clerk. She spent a lot of time on this. We have had a few issues that we wanted to clean up, as with any ordinance, as we go, have time behind us, we find things that happen. This was a previous city attorney that we used that put this together with a new set of eyes on things. I think we found some things. We have issues with advertising through VRBO, Airbnb platforms that we wanted to try to get ahead of and address from a code enforcement standpoint. So this cleans up that language, allowing us to do so. Sarah, do you want to hit other highlights on it? But really, it's housekeeping items. There's nothing of great substance here, but just from a code enforcement standpoint, allowing us some additional clarity to deal with units that are being advertised that may not be, that are maybe violating our 30-day restriction, if you will. So that's under section 15.6 under regulations, under B, that red line there kind of addresses that and allows us from a code enforcement standpoint. Then a lot of the other language is, again, just cleanup based on our city attorney's review and consistency on other zoning language.
And then the only other thing, the appeals section did change to have the authority to be city council, not ZBA, because it's not a zoning decision. Licensing is kind of a police power, if you will, administratively.
Questions, Mr. Moore?
So I just have a couple things. So on page 99, paragraph 9, and this is probably for everybody, but for Laura, if you get to the sentence that says, upon transfer, licensure lapse, or revocation of the short-term rental license, I think that has to be redrafted because it's upon transfer of the subject property, licensure lapse, or revocation of the short-term rental license. The way it reads now, it sounds like upon transfer of the short-term rental license.
Yep, just rereading it real quick here.
Yeah. So that was just one thing for clarity.
Mm.
And then I was curious, going back to page 96, I understand why we've taken out landlord and tenant and all that sort of thing. But just a question, must the licensee be the operator? If, I'm just wondering, like, it says licensee means the owner, but are there situations where the owner might not be the operator? I guess I'm just putting that on your radar to see if that's anything that needs to be thought about here.
Sure, I'll take a look, but it's my understanding that we require the owner to apply for the license.
Yeah. And then the other thing I saw was, this, I think this addition under 15.6B on page 100 about the, posting, advertising, I think it's really good. But one thing I wondered about, do we want to have some kind of enhanced fee for that? Because these folks that are operating without a license are making, a lot of money. And I'm wondering if the penalties, as we've established them now, would really be a deterrent to those folks. And I don't even know if we can do that, to have a different category of penalty, but that was just something else I wanted to put out there for folks.
So I've used that language in another city, and we actually went to court to have it enforced, frankly. Would say, they were operating and doing the advertising, and we used the advertising as one of the counts in our complaint. So it's kind of an extra, because I don't disagree. If you're only imposing a fine, then somebody can make a business decision to do that. But if we take a position where we're going to seriously shut somebody down and go to circuit court to get an injunction, it's helpful because it's easier to prove an advertisement sometimes to have that in there as another weapon in our arsenal.
So you're happy with how it is?
Yes.
That's all I have.
Multiple infractions. That addressed. Multiple infractions, is that addressed?
I think that's a kind of a separate issue. The issue is it's a penalty in itself to advertise, not just to actually do the renting out. So even if you never get a customer, you've still violated the ordinance.
I like that.
Unless you're licensed, of course.
We have individuals are making $440 a night. And we're fine with you the ticket.
But I'm happy I'll go back with a recording and review those items. And if there's any language changes, none of those would be substantial enough to delay a second reading.
Okay.
Thank you.
So move that, any council, any comments? Otherwise we move that to second reading. Fine.
Yeah, if you see anything in the interim, feel free to reach out to me and we'll get with the city attorney.
All right. Next discussion, Michigan Department of Natural Resources, Land and Water Conservation Fund conversion concerning Hilltop Field.
I would make the recommendation to just move this forward to the next meeting. There's nothing time sensitive on this. I understand how late we are, and I'm fine with pushing this forward to the next meeting if that's okay.
I don't mind this Walker.
Yeah, I just had a brief question. So this came about because Petoskey Schools was inquiring about a land swap of Turcot with Curtis. But is it in, there's obviously some kind of restriction with the state, with the DNR and doing that conversion. But doesn't Curtis Field have a deed restriction as well?
It's been searched out. It's been taken care of.
Yeah, the schools has done that to clear the title there. But again, we'll pick this up next meeting.
No living relative.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear more about that too.
Yeah.
That aspect.
Okay, thanks.
Well.
Do we need a table?
You want to table that
We
one?
have to have a motion to table?
No, it was just,
Just discussion.
it's just a discussion, provide initial feedback.
Probably, no.
Draft resolution.
Possibility of motion for a closed session of a proposed resolution that would authorize to adjourn to a closed session to consider matters exempt from discussion and disclosure by statute under MCL 15.268H, specifically identified as an attorney-client privilege written legal opinion. Do I have a motion?
So moved as the mayor just set forth.
Do I have a second?
Support.
A motion from Ms. Demore, second from Mr. Wilmot. Any other discussion? I go to Ms. Beck for roll.
Demore,
Aye.
Wilmot.
Aye.
Nachtrab,
Aye.
Walker.
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye. We will be back. We are coming back for possible action.
Yes.
Yes.
So public, I want to let you know that we have an opportunity to come back. We will be back shortly, so please. Yeah. Why? There's only 2 minutes to go in the thing.
Let's have some good walkers for the game.
Who did?
Belgium.
You, okay, got
You're
it.
on live.
You are.
I'm muted.
Okay, I call back
Reconvene.
to city council for the July 6th meeting. And I entertain discussion and possible motion. Go for it.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion. I move to authorize the city attorney to negotiate an option agreement with the owner of 441, 443, and 445 East Mitchell Street for the city's possible purchase of the properties, with the final option agreement returning to council approval before signing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion, council? Public wish to weigh in on this? There being none, I go to Ms. Beck for roll.
Demore,
Aye.
Nachtrab,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Hobart,
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Now we have public, city council comments, starting with Ms. Walker, Ward 4.
Thank you, Mayor. At a recent event at Elder Piper earlier in last week, I spoke with a resident on State Street, and she is living in a rental unit, paying really, really high rent, and also really just highlighted the need for a rental inspection program that we've talked about and discussed. It was also brought up at the ward convention, and I passed that information along on the city convention. And it's become apparent in talking to renters in the Petoskey in Ward 4 in particular, that that we really need to have this policy in motion. Because a vacant building, not a vacant building ordinance, but a rental inspection program would help to kind of mitigate some of the really bad actors in terms of landlords that are not upkeeping their buildings and not keeping up on the leases, renting to people that are not on the lease. And she noted also some pretty serious drug activity in that building on State Street, and also kind of an inherent distrust of law enforcement. So she was really in quite a pickle in terms of like, who do I call and what do I do about this absentee landlord that refuses, that takes, charging us a lot of money, which obviously we don't have rent control, but is really not making her living situation safe.
Ward 3, Mr. Knaptrap.
I just want to reflect on this past weekend. 4th of July weekend was an amazing time. I think the city of Petoskey did great stuff downtown. I witnessed thousands of people at Bay Harbor from all over the area with the fireworks and the parade on Saturday. It was just wonderful to see a lot of families having a blast in our community. And it was just, I'm proud to be a resident here, and I'm proud to be an American.
Ward 2, Mr. Wilmot.
No updates today.
I bet somebody has some. Ward 1, Ms. Demore.
Yeah, just quickly, it sounded to me at the table like we did have consensus, Mr. Nachtrab, about moving forward with revisiting the 2015 non-motorized plan. And I wondered if we might be able to put that on an upcoming agenda to kind of get that underway. And I don't know what others think about that.
To be blunt, I'm all for that, but I figured you three already decided what was going to happen.
No.
And so there was not anything in the motion to have this. We expressed it. So I kind of assumed, in all due respect, I'd love to do that. I think it's a great idea. But I feel like it was already kind of pre-decided, and there wasn't.
My comments
That
were-
was not even entertained as a possibility.
My comments were that this was a.
Didn't talk about it.
No, I did.
I've been promoting it
So
since.
why wasn't that in?
the last
Why
5
wasn't
years.
that in your motion?
Because it wasn't, we were talking about a different aspect of the agenda. I fully support starting immediately, and as I understand it, the city manager is already begun the process of assessing what consultants might be available that have a national scope and experience with this.
That was not.
And
I brought that up.
and it,
Next meeting, I brought that up.
he has assured me that when the CIP meeting takes place, that they'll have more information to provide us all in that process.
I mean,
So anyway-
I mean, I would agree with Councilmember Demore if it would be helpful if I had direct action. If you wanted to do that now as a board, it's in the 27 CIP. If you wanted to move it up now, then certainly that direction would be helpful for me to have that from this body. So I can certainly put that on the next agenda.
Do we still do motions now on
No,
this?
no, no.
Use the
All right.
next month.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just asking if there's a consensus to have this on an upcoming agenda so that we can begin to move forward on the plan. And it was certainly my intention, I think I mentioned that in my comments, that the action I supported tonight was only a bridge to an update of the 2015 plan. So that's what I'm asking. Are we interested in having it on a future?
I made in my comments, I would love to, I wish this would be amended. I'd like to get the record back on this. I wanted to have an emotion on that. I wanted to have that.
Okay.
And it was already, I'm just telling you, maybe I'm just a little frustrated because it was very obvious that it was already gonna happen and you guys already made your decision on this. And I was hoping we would entertain, I think I even said that. Can we modify this? Let's pull this thing forward and do this. So I think we should be doing it. So the bottom line is, I would love to have this.
I mean, ultimately, I can do the RFP, get out there, get that done, bring the proposal back to you that we as staff recommend, and then you authorize the expenditure. I just don't want to get down to that point because this has happened where we start down a road and then who told you to go that direction? Why did you move that way? So I just want to make sure it's very clear, this is the direction we want to go. But going through the RFP process, that's certainly something we can do, bring back the proposal to you, then you authorize the expenditure at that point. So if that's the consensus, I don't really need direct action.
The consensus.
But from my standpoint, yesterday would have been too late. We need to have the non-motorized plan revisited and a consulting organization engaged as soon as possible. And so I support that.
We didn't hear from Lindsay. I don't know if you want.
Are you talking about the 2015 non-motorized plan
Yes.
and like, and updating that because it's 2026 and it's been 11 years?
Yes.
Yeah, usually you're updating your master plans every 5 to well, less than 10 years. Yeah.
So you're in.
Absolutely, totally.
Okay, and Joe, you're good?
Of course I'm good.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Thank you. And the other thing, I completely agree with you, especially everything about 4th of July, but that event on July 3rd was awesome. I hope that can happen again. It was a great opportunity for people just to get together and it was really, really good. And then finally, I just wanted to let everybody know that we applied for a Hestia Women's Giving Circle grant in support of the Youth Advisory Women traveling to CapCon. And we received a $2,700 grant. So kudos to that group. Thank you.
And I guess in rebuttal, since you brought up a threesome here of us tag teaming this, I listened to tonight's meeting and you'll hear that I stated the city manager has already researched the mobility, plan, a person to get, agency, a group to get involved with this. I'm all in favor of that. Had you brought that up in the meeting as a part of it, I think it would have gone fly through. I want to thank Shane Horn and his wife who busted their tails.
My wife did, not me.
Anything she went to, guess who went with her, with him?
If I want to see her, I've got to go, right?
So, but I want to thank Carlin Smith, him, Genesis Church, the Rotary. They did an unbelievable job of that community picnic. There were thousands of people passing through there. I heard more things from people, believe it or not, of the whole thing was the kids had stuff to do and how many kids participated in stuff. And I want to say thank you, Shane, and yesterday morning at 9 o'clock for a couple hours. Shane, I go down there to help pick up the pieces. Shane's down there. I told him, stay home. You've done enough. Let us do it. He was there. So was Mr. Wilmot. I dragged the poor guy down there.
Stayed on the phone too long and he asked me to go.
But you know what? This community, this bicycle thing will work out. We can make it work. We can work it out as a community. We have always worked together. We've always come up with solutions. And you guys are the best people that I've worked with in 10 years here. Because you know what? You're all independent. You all have independent thoughts. We will work through this process. No further business to come before this council. I call this meeting adjourned.